Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome to the season finale in the Simracersworld IMSA Winter Series live on Apex Racing TV. We have got 3 categories of racing to decide who is going to be the champion in each. And here's Sebring, our host for this round 6 of the championship. As has been the case for the entire season, I'm Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me is DJ Clark, and Sam Kume is operating the cameras. DJ, it's been a fantastic season so far. We've had some absolutely spellbinding races. We've had lots of different winners in each of the 3 classes. But this is when it comes down to, it's not about necessarily having the most enjoyable race tonight for many of these drivers. It's about getting those results done and finishing the season with some glory.
Exactly. A lot of drivers going to be looking at the championship standings, trying to do some mental math in their head while they are driving around this world-famous Sebring circuit for an hour and 40 minutes. It's really going to amp up the pressure on them at a especially technical and difficult circuit like this.
It is a really tricky circuit. At least I find it trickier than pretty much any other. It really does require a lot of laps of practice to get into a good rhythm. Here is the P2 standings. 49 points the difference between O'Leary and Kraft. O'Leary with 3 wins this season, Kraft with 2, and whenever they haven't been winning, they have been second place. So they've been occupying the top 2 places for the entire season. We think, or at least in my head, seeing that Kraft has got pole position every round, I believe you do get a bonus point for pole position. And so maybe if Kraft is able to win tonight, I think he can overhaul that. So it's really important. We should get clarification on that a little bit later on. Pretus Forstdijk fighting closely for that 3rd position. I think I'm sure both of them would want to get that best of the rest position, considering that the top 2 have driven so well this season. In the GTD Pro category, it's a bit more comfortable. Christoph Reis has been really impressive this season. Oysten Hereford managed to win the first round of the championship, but since then it's really all been Reis, and he's been able to open up a very strong gap in that championship ahead of Hereford, Warner, Gribstead and Stakiokas rounding out the top 5. And in the GTD AMS, once again Wojciech Koci doing extremely well, and Anton Dupin's got a couple of wins this season, but Koci looking very strong at the top of those standings. So I think the one that stands out for me, I think DJ in this championship fight is going to be the P2s. I really don't know who's going to come out on top, and I'd say maybe Kraft is the favourite, but you know, he has to win. He can't have any setbacks. You know, for O'Leary, if they both don't finish, then you know that's great news for O'Leary, but for Kraft, he's absolutely got to get that race win tonight.
Yeah, he really does, and we talked about that amping up of the pressure here, and for Daniel Kraft, that is really going to push him in that direction to be as pixel perfect as possible, to really try to maximize on those points. He knows what he's got to do, and he is on pole position right now for those LMP2s, so he has done the first part of what he needs to do tonight.
Yes, he's, yeah, that's a really good performance from him. Of course, the drivers in the P2s out first onto track, and then it will be the drivers in the GTDs, as is currently the case. And so those P2 standings you can very much count will be it. Currently, Calorie Garton at the top of the GTD pros, but Preben Varley just rounding out the final corner at the moment. Ahead of Hereford and Kurzweil. Christoph Reyes way down the order at the moment. P9 in the qualifying as Vale crosses the line. That was an improvement, but he stays in P2.
Yeah, he'll stay there, and very tricky to get a good lap built up around here. We don't normally think of Sebring as the longest circuit in the States, normally that going over to a Road America type place, but it is a very long lap, so plenty of time to make up or lose time over the course of this as we look at our pole sitter in the GTD AMs, Anton Dupin.
Yeah, that's an even better lap time for him there. Remarkably, Kochi and Knight tied on points. At the moment, tied on lap time at the moment. Of course, it's not the case like in real life where whoever sets the time first goes ahead. iRacing measures down to the 10,000th, the 100,000th. I don't think it's quite confirmed. I think it's meant to be 8 decimal points. It measures, which is insane. And so that Kochi was legitimately fast there. He wasn't just fortunate to have set that time when he did on that one. Of course, our race winners last time out, Kraft, Gartzen, yeah, those two being very strong last time out. Gartzen's really been quite dominant, I guess, in the rounds that he's actually taken parts in, DJ. I mean, Mid-Ohio is the one that I remember from him in particular, despite the fact that was one of the few that he didn't win. He was, when he's, you know, out in front, he is really tricky, but he had a good battle with his teammate, of course, Billy Fletcher last time out, but with Fletcher at the moment down in P4, Gartzen really could take this GTD Pro battle by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah, he really could, and you know, 1.13 seconds right now, the gap he has over Vale and Hereford behind them, so looking very promising for him. His one thing that he's going to have to focus on, as is everybody who's sitting in the higher place positions, is they're really going to want to try to pull away here in the opening laps as much as possible to try to build a gap, as despite the first 2/3 of this track being very technical, the slipstream is very powerful down this long back Ullman straight.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, not easy to overtake at the end of it, but sure the drivers will be giving it their best effort. Hereford just rounding the final corner, also Barley just in front of him, but as we usually see, I think the driver's just coming into the pits. No, Hereford is going to keep his foot to the floor, and he's trying to go as close to the wall as possible, try to use as much track as little, and Hereford moves up to P2. That is a monumental performance for a man who has struggled in qualifying recently. We're in America, I think he only qualified down in about 6th position, but this time he's up in P2, only 2/100ths of a second off Gartzen, and that is very good signs for what could be a competitive race, and of course a long way ahead of his championship rival, Christoph Reyes. So quite a surprise there. That's, I honestly cannot recall in the second half of the season those two being in that order on the grid.
No, as you said, Hereford not having the best qualifying efforts, but just really putting in a stonking lap there, 2/100ths of a second ahead of Vale. He'll be in the catbird seat as we get ready to race.
Yeah, that is exactly what he needed. I'm just trying to find the exact points difference. I think the points that we showed earlier on were slightly inaccurate when it comes to it comes to the some of the standings, but I mean, I think it was pretty much getting the message across at least pretty clearly that the championship leaders that we were showing need basically a bad week in order for it to change around. But yeah, just to confirm, the gap in the P2s is actually only 16 points between O'Leary and Kraft. Kraft getting the bonus point as well for pole position. I think he's got pole position in every round this season, which is a monumental effort, and I believe was replicated by one of the drivers in the TCR Championship as well. So was a super impressive performance. That, as looks like qualifying is over, and we will start to grid up only the short pace lap for this Sebring circuit, and so it won't be long until we are underway. There is our pole position once again. Daniel Kraft ahead of O'Leary. It is winner takes all, pretty much. Whoever finishes ahead wins the championship. Currently 3 wins to O'Leary, but Kraft with more bonus points. If he could draw level on wins, then that would be enough for him to take the title. As to catch pole in 3rd position, there's Freitas going for P3 in the championship. There's Bart Dillman, great to see him out there, series organiser, but wanting to take part tonight. There it is, Paul King, PJ Claysons, Brian Loynes, and Thomas Mochek and John Tusting. Top of the GTD Pros is Callum Gartson. Royston Hereford is alongside him, a good performance for Hereford tonight, and he could still take the title. Barley in 3rd place, and it's Fletcher who was very, very strong at Road America, arguably should have won. Wim Stockman's just behind him. Then it's Chris Warner, Neil Cooper, Hakon Grebstad, Christoph Reis, and Tim Perry. Top of the GTD AMS is Anton Dupan, who also still has a mathematical chance, but he really needs the man directly behind him, Wojciech Kochi, to have a poor round. Ben Hicks is sandwiched in the middle. There's Edward Knight in 24th place, who is certainly due a win this season. I don't think he's got one this season, Knight, but he's always near the front. Then it's Herbera, Hodgson, Valle, De Wolf, great to see him in the race. Kaiser, Roy, Fuller, Gaducci, Healy, and Jackson rounding out the 34 cars here at Sebring.
Yeah, rounded them out, and we're just waiting here for the rest of the field to grid up. As I said, we're lining up here on the Ullman Straight. This is that long draft battle that you will have, and a couple of LMP2s there in the back, not setting a qualifying time. That's going to make things interesting.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a setting thing for the organisers, where you have to tick a box basically to say that all the drivers within a certain class were good together, and it's very easy to miss that one. But hopefully they won't get a penalty as long as there's an admin. They can clear any black flags. So here we go then. For the final time this season, we are underway in the Simracersworld IMSA Winter Championship, and it is Kraft who brings us to the first corner. Catchpole isn't going to rival his teammate O'Leary. He lets him set off into 2nd position and will just try to defend from Freitas into the first few corners by himself. The GTD Pro seemed to be giving a very big gap, which was tricky to do considering the short pace now, but that was a huge gap in between them, and a good job there from pole sitter Garton, and he leads into turn 1. Not a big jump over Hereford at the moment. Varley trying to hang on to P3 over Fletcher as he actually goes up the inside there, Varley, from quite far back, but he had the inside line. He was able to break much later, and he may well be up into 2nd place, which is not what the championship contender in the form of Royston Hereford needed whatsoever, as a couple of Jazz, Grebstad and Stockmans battle hard just behind. And in the GTD AMS, Dupan now with no cars between himself and Kochi, and so the top 2 in the championship and in this race are soon going to be battling side by side.
Indeed, and there you see Dupan trying to get a little aggressive there on Reyes right ahead of him, trying to see what he can get. A little bit of side-by-side there in the back. Kochi and Knight going at it down into the hairpin turn. Really good stuff. Aggressive moves early on, but everybody keeping their head, remembering that this is an hour and 40-minute race.
Yeah, definitely good to see as Kochi has to go a little bit defensive there against Edward Knight. But nothing to worry about on that occasion. Fortunately, Healy and Jackson seemingly not taking the start in the GTD AMS, but still a few of these adjustments. Of course, you get points for your overall position, I believe, in the GTD category, so it is very important for you to get as high up as possible, beat some pros if you are an AM, and you can have big swings of points in that category if that is the case. As Stephen DeWolf currently batsing there for the first time this season. Daleman dropping back a little bit, he's down into 9th position, he's just been overtaken by Darian Roy, I believe, albeit I am a big fan of that livery. At least the one that I've got up on the screen is a Brawn GP livery for Bart Daleman. I'm not sure if that's the one that we see on the broadcast, but I'm very happy to have it on my screen.
Yeah, as am I, always some striking colors there, but there you see the number 2 getting a little bit defensive, going down into the hairpin. Ooh, kicking up a little bit of oversteer coming out of the corner. So this is going to be a battle here, I think, for Roy. He has got to watch his 6 as Daleman definitely coming up behind.
Yeah, no chance there. Surprised they have to brake so much for that right-hander, honestly. Personally, one of my least favourite corners in the world. Never seem to get it right. I'm absolutely hopeless around this track. It's genuinely my worst track, as Catchpole has made a mistake, and that is an unusual mistake from a very consistent driver. It's not the world's best rejoin, but you'll escape any penalty for that. He drops right to the back. Now that shouldn't matter too much in the championship context, of course. He is teammates with the P2 man at the moment. He's just, well, he was already kind of oversteering, and then once you get on the grass, that was game over.
Yeah, very easy to lose it here in these LMP2s at that speed around those corners, especially here early on, only about 2 laps down, so the tire's still a little bit chilly. You've got to be very, very careful. Nurse the car around until you get everything up to working temperature and everything can be flying around the way you want it to.
So if Guards has been able to get his tyres up to temperature, this is not as dominant as I thought he might be. He has been so quick this season on occasion, at least says Gartson. But this time he is being pushed really hard by Preben Varley, who is backing up that strong start he had. Wasn't necessarily a good launch for Varley, as I think we've got a bit of a slow BMW in the background. I think that might be Grebstad just serving a slowdown. It's possible to pick up some through the Le Mans curve, so he'll drop down a couple of places. Fletcher, meanwhile, on Hereford. So Hereford really wants to win this race. He can still win the title, but he is dropping backwards rather than forwards. He's down to 4th place, albeit can still see the leader just in front of him, as Bart Daleman has had a problem, and I wonder if that was after contact with Darian Roy.
Very well may have been. We were watching those two duke it out a little bit earlier. There you see him sort of letting Catchpole on by, recognizing that Alistair, a faster car there, a little bit out of position. Alistair also losing it here early on. So these LMP2s struggling a little bit with handling, it seems like.
Yeah, I think, he seems to be struggling in these early stages. And, of course, the track conditions as well will be changing as the race goes on, trying to be a little bit like the 12 hours is this race, so we're going from day to night. Of course, the 12 hours on iRacing are going to be occurring end of next week, I believe. Unfortunately, I won't be taking parts. DJ, are you taking parts, in fact, in the 12 hours?
I am not. I have got to be working on the box, so unfortunately, I'm not going to be in the car. I'm going to be calling some races from the microphone.
Well, it's a fun race to do. It's a good length, 12 hours, 24 hours. Sometimes drag on a little bit, but yeah, really good event. I'm sure one that's much of the community will be very excited about. Many of these drivers, I'm sure, will be racing in it. As it might be worth tuning back in for the GTD Pro Lead, because Varley is not letting Garton off. I wonder if we're turning into a bit of a mid-hire situation where we saw lots of fuel saving for the drivers, and had quite a variance in strategies in the end. And Varley is just trying to save a little bit of fuel at the moment, which is very possible to do around these corners because you kind of coast it in by Sunset Bend and turn 1. You're not firm on the throttle, so you're kind of easing off the throttle in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. This is a circuit that you really can save that fuel. You can see him, though, pushing a little bit, trying to catch up, and I think he's gotten into the head of Callum Lee Garden up ahead of him. You saw all of that weaving that Garden was doing down the Ullman Straight. That is very much an indicative thing of somebody who is watching in their rear view mirror and trying to break that toe as much as possible.
Just to point out as well, a little bit of a poor start for Christophe Reyes, who is having his worst round of the championship so far. He is currently down. Oh, as we've got a spinner. It's on Dupin. Well, that's good news for Raisin. It's bad news for Dupin, former leader of this race, and he still had ambitions of winning the title, but that is not what he needed whatsoever. And you can see he's very awkwardly trying to get back underway. You need a quick button just to turn off the traction control. But, wow, he has lost heaps of time. Half a minute, I think, he's lost due to that mistake. It's a big shame for him. He's in a lot of catching up to do to get to Kochi, who now inherits the lead with Knight very close behind.
Yeah, Knight trying to close in there. The battle of the BMWs currently the story here in these GTD AM standings. And even with the BOP that we get put into the series, I expect that BMW to be pretty strong here. There are some definite power-sensitive areas. The Almond Straight, the run from Tower Turn all the way through to Le Mans, and it should certainly help there, as that's a little bit of a move. Freitas trying to see what he can do on Thomas O'Leary as they start to catch some traffic.
Was that a bad lap from O'Leary? I'm surprised he's not closer to, didn't realise he was losing that much time to Craft. I don't know if we could get the, personally my favourite graphic of them all, the gap comparison lap by lap between Craft and O'Leary, but the gap is at 6 seconds. Remember, this is the closest championship. O'Leary currently ahead, but he has to win tonight, does O'Leary, or he has to not be outscored by Kraft by a big margin. But you can see there, so a mistake there from O'Leary. You didn't see that one, but he lost 4.5 seconds on lap 3. And, well, the gap is 6.2 seconds at the moment, so you can see how it constitutes a big chunk of that. Certainly advantage Daniel Kraft, who has usually had the pace this season, but got taken out at Watkins, getting through no faults of his own when in the lead in the early stages. And then was also Watkins Glen, when he spun out from the lead as well, and lost out on the race win by a couple of tenths, as we see Guiducci having a problem down at turn 1. And then O'Leary was also able to take the win at Mid-Air High, managed to do a good strategy call, took a lot less fuel at his second pit stop. I was able to come out on top on that occasion. But on the most part, you know, when Kraft has been winning, he's been winning by a long margin. Daytona comes to mind the most, but I think he was 40 seconds clear by the end.
Yeah, I think he was as well. As we saw there, that is Guiducci that had a little bit of an off. A lot of drivers being caught off guard around here. And I think some of that has to do with some pretty blustery wind conditions. It's blowing here out of the west. Whoa, that's getting a little bit tricky for Freitas as he tries to work his way around to Wolf.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see the iRacing flag model in action. I'm not sure if there are many flags though around this track. Admittedly, I don't have my graphics on full settings, so maybe I don't see the flags. But that would tell us quite how strong the wind is. We also do have the SDK kind of weather information little panel. So we might be able to display that at some point. But yeah, certainly just struggling a little bit out there, so you really start to see the track cam being baked by the setting sun. We are well and truly now with the P2s navigating their way through the GTDs. Certainly doesn't seem to be any sort so far for Dan Kraft. It's when you catch in the first sector of the lap where you lose a lot of time very quickly. As Fletcher's just got past Varley, by the way.
Yes, he has. So that battle there for the GTD Pro field starting to get... Wow, that is a 5-car train. Very, very close. Garton, Fletcher, Valle, Hereford, and Warner all running pretty much nose to tail there for the lead of GTD Pro.
Yeah, it's barely anything to split. Is Garton just holding back a bit? Is he trying to save some fuel, maybe? I don't know, because the top two are teammates, as Hodgson and Valle have had a problem. It looked like Hodgson was initially off the track, and then Valle, in fact, Hodgson is still off the track. So, almost certainly they've collided. And Valle dropping down to 5th place, still seeing Hodgson off the track, as there he is with a lot of damage.
Yeah, a lot of damage to that front end. Let's check out the replay here. This is Valo out front, letting that 22 machine trying to. Oh, he gets tipped around, and then I bet Hodgson just nowhere to go, making front end contact and more with another one of the LMP2s there, the 23 machine of Loins.
That was all very unlucky. Very narrow around that part of the track, and yeah, the only way to avoid would have been to go all the way onto the grass. So that's thinned out. That's GTD AM lead now. A bit more spread out between the lots of them. The 22, by the way, the one who made the initial contact, PJ Clayson's, currently in 4th place. So wonder if he'll be under investigation by the stewards. See if they need to make any calls on that. Fletcher down to just 1.5 tenths of a second now, behind Callum Reed Garton. And once again, they are teammates, are those top two of the GTD pros. But well, Fletcher is ever so quick at the moment, and we're about to sort of come across them guys on board with PJ Clayson's.
Yeah, riding up behind 9th place in that GTD field, able to get by Perry. He's now got Cooper up ahead. A little train right up there with Cooper and Grebstad running nose to tail. I do think these LMP2s coming through here will start to separate out that GTD Pro field just a little bit, but the speed we've seen them have across the board, I don't think it's going to be too much of a split.
Just seeing the amount of space that PJ Clayson's was giving there, he was right on the track limit. You didn't want to dip a wheel onto the grass, that could be disastrous. He was leaving absolutely no chances for any GTD to accidentally sort of veer to the left and accidentally make contact. And now here comes Clayson's through, just about getting his way past there. And now will he go for an ambitious move here? In the end, was fairly simple for him. So losing a little bit of time, but he's dealt with this world has played since he couldn't really hope for much better. There is going to be some lost time there. The Lamborghini not knowing which way Clayson's wanted to go and had to get out of the throttle and probably lost about a second in that. But he eventually gets through and remains just 3 seconds behind Miguel Freitas.
Yeah, and Freitas, meanwhile, has lost touch a little bit with O'Leary. Remember, we saw the two of them sort of swapping back and forth. Once O'Leary's been able to clear traffic, he's opening up a gap of about 6 seconds. There he is on your screen, the number 96. And so very, very good driving here from O'Leary. He is putting in some really quick times and just trying to close in on the back of Daniel Kraft, but Kraft running even faster.
Yeah, and that last lap, Kraft was quite a bit faster, but actually on the sort of 4 or 5 other laps recently, I think they've sort of been matching one another. So good pace for O'Leary, but he has made this quite tricky for himself. Of course, with that mistake earlier on, which we didn't see on camera, but he lost about 3.5 seconds or 4.5 seconds even on lap 3 of this race. And once again, not just enough. He has to win tonight, O'Leary, if he is going to win the championship. Whoever finishes ahead of those two drivers will be the champion for this season. So absolutely paramount for them guys as wow, this is a lot of moving about. Can everyone get it stopped? Good awareness. At least when you are in a pack like this, you can everyone's looking in their mirrors. Everyone's should be aware as we run 3 wide for just a moment. Is anyone going to get boxed in? Super close. Now there is contact. Yeah, that's going across the track. I think that was Varley there going to go off the circuit there with that sort of side swipe, and will do well to avoid any damage. But that was a bit over aggressive, going side by side through those kind of curving straights there whilst trying to overtake. It's going to be very tricky, and it was Varley with that contact, but it looks like he's got away with it.
Yeah, and that was Roy and Catchpole that were those two LMP2s that were coming through. Remember, Catchpole on a bit of a recovery drive here, and I think Roy just, I dare I say, a little bit over-aggressive on that, trying to get up and on by, as you really can't go 3 wide there through that portion of the circuit. That was always going to end in tears.
Yeah, I think that was pretty much as good as it could have occurred on that occasion. So, fortunate stuff there. And Barley still not too far behind the leaders, albeit just having to run slightly offline as he's got John Tusting going up the inside. And Dusting should make pretty easy work of the top two GTDs on the pit straight this time round, past Fletcher and past Gartson. Right there, as Bart Delman still running in this race despite a few places down from where he started, also making his way through. And so far at least, a GTD pack are separating out a little bit, and all still fairly close. No gaps more than 1 second separating the top 8 at the moment. And just a reminder as well, the championship situation in this category, looking going to be a lot of points for Hereford to be able to make up on Christoph Reis in order to win the championship. Is still possible, but Reis currently in 10th place, having a very quiet day of it at the moment, but should be enough, I believe, at least for the Belgian to win if it ends like this.
Yeah, indeed, and Hereford will know that, so he's going to want to try to push as hard as he can to get up forward. He will have seen, obviously, that incident earlier with Vale right up ahead of him. Don't think there's any damage to the Porsche, but he might know that, that car's just a little bit rattled. See if he can try to push his way through, maybe follow an LMP2 through as they continue to work their way around.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the points at the moment. So 350 points goes to the winner. So say if he was able to win Hereford, then the gap currently is. I mean, this is what people tune in for me to be umming and ahhing about what the point situation is. I'm sure the viewers are absolutely loving this right now. The gap is currently 67 points. So, I mean, it'll be close. It will be close. I can guarantee you that. If he wins, then, well, yeah. So if he wins, then we will need at least a P3 then for Reis in order to win the championship. So it's not in Hereford's hands. Obviously, if Reis gets a top 2, then Reis wins the championship. But with the standings as they are at the moment, if Hereford can just get himself 2 seconds further up the road, he will be in championship winning position. But he needs to make those moves by the end of this race.
Yeah, he certainly does, and he's falling off the back here just a little bit of Vale, but that's okay. Through some of the twistier bits of the section, what he doesn't want to do is lose touch with him on the straights, because if he starts to lose that draft, that is going to be an absolute detriment to him as they come across.
We see Kochi still having a good race at the moment. Has had a couple of tricky rounds. Daytona in particular was a poor round for Kochi. I don't think Road America went his way either, if I recall correctly. But this has been much better for him, and currently about half a minute clear of his main championship rival Anton Dupin, and also ahead of a few of the pro drivers. Catch bottle, by the way, just getting past Roy according to our timing screen, so he's up into 5th place. But Knight now 2.3 seconds behind Kochi. Was that a tap into the wall for the 26?
If it was, it didn't slow him down too much, as we're about to have a nice little three-way battle here between Catchpole, Roy, and King. Riding on board with Paul King right now. He's going to try to carry some momentum around the outside of Roy. He is going to be ahead as they go down to the braking zone for turn 2, but they're still side by side.
Oh, you cannot get two Dallara P2s alongside around that part of the track. And doing the wise thing there, King, to back out of it. But here he comes again, trying to get that P6 if he possibly can. Roy at threats of dropping 2 places in the space of a lap. Just going to try to get him offline if he possibly can right now is King. And the gap comes down to just a 1/10 of a second. Now he gets onto the outside around this part. He'll be on the inside for the next part. And Paul King eventually moving ahead. And Roy had no answer to that. He did look faster than the Ignium Motorsports driver throughout that exchange. And so King can move on and set after chase for Catchpole up the road.
And Catchpole, because of that battling, has been able to pull about a 2.5-second advantage on Paul King. So that is going to play into the hands of the 74 there. You can see him, the Friction Racing driver. He wants to try to catch up a little bit, I am sure, to his teammate Thomas O'Leary and serve as a bit of a rear gunner to him, make sure that he doesn't have any attacks coming from behind.
By the way, thanks to everyone for tuning in for this broadcast. Very happy to have you watching along. Someone just asking, can you change a livery on Adobe Elements or only on Photoshop? I'm genuinely not sure. I've never used Adobe Elements, so apologies for that. That we can't answer your question unless Sam or DJ know any difference. I am not sure if you can do that, but I certainly know you can use GIMP, and so I think you can use quite a lot of stuff, at least to change liveries on iRacing, and is one of the best functions, unless of course you're dealing with the W12, in which case that will not be allowed. You can do it, but if you ever use that in a real race, you will face the consequences. As Roy is coming back again, then. And this is almost the exact opposite of what was going on the last lap.
Yeah, it was indeed. I thought, oh!
And King around. Oh, I think that's damage. Or is he just waiting? No, it is damage. That's a shame for Roy. Now, I'm not sure whose fault that was, honestly. King was on the inside. He ran it in very deep. And was Roy too eager on the throttle? Was King slowing up on the grass? Oh, I don't know.
I think that's a little bit of 6 one way, half dozen the other. A little bit of fault there on both drivers, unfortunately. Just an unfortunate situation both for Roy and King.
That is a shame for that battle to end in that fashion. But at least the drivers do have a faster vet, so they can get out. This is insane. To be fair, I mean, I don't know. I'm just convinced, and maybe I'm really overinflating how good Callum Gutson is, but I really thought he would be pulling away. And I just wonder if he's, doing a service to us and just squeezing up the pack. And I do think, we should, maybe Apex Racing we should hire drivers to deliberately make an entertaining race. Because this is brilliant right now. Because any one of these guys could win. Hopefully we don't have a mid-Ohio situation where we had a very similar pack before a P2 came through and wiped about 3 of them out and left it only with 3 cars near the front. Because this is incredible right now. Because the top 9 are separated by less than 5 seconds at the moment. Even Christoph Reyes down in 10th place, less than 7 seconds off the lead, and we're 24 minutes into the race.
Yeah, this is really, really remarkable there as you see all of them just streaking down. And I think this is partially due to a little bit of fuel saving. You talked about it earlier, Sam, as they continue to work their way around here. You want to try to save a little bit of fuel. And so I don't think Fletcher, Vale, Hereford, Grebstad, and any of these guys are necessarily in a rush to get themselves forward. They're okay to just loiter back here, be a little bit lighter on the throttle pedal, and let the draft pull them along and be able to be nice and conservative, maybe take a little bit less fuel when they have to come into pit stops.
We saw how good that was for Gartson back at Mid-Ohio. Remember when he managed to go, was it 3 or 4 extra laps compared to his rivals? Just saved a bunch of fuel and then was, to be fair, he was just simply the fastest driver that day. But, when you've got maybe 5 litres of fuel in the car compared to, say, 60 litres of fuel, which was probably about the amount that the drivers will be taking at their pit stop, you are going to be a lot more quicker. Even though these are quite heavy cars and not especially fuel sensitive, if you can just get that 3 tenths, 4 tenths of a second and do that for a couple of laps, that can be enough to go from, 5th in a battle like this all the way up to the top. So it is certainly worth doing. Fletcher, I was probably talking over that one to be fair, so I don't think we could hear. But I think that was a slight lifting coast for him, so I think they know what they are doing at the moment. All these drivers are looking absolutely right, DJ, in terms of tactics that these drivers are adopting. Of course, will be a one-stop for all of these GTD cars. Should get to about 55 minutes, maybe even an hour. They'll be able to run these cars to. The P2s, meanwhile, will be capping out at about 35 minutes. They'll need to take 2 pit stops tonight.
Yes, they will. As that leading LMP2 there of Daniel Kraft able to work his way on by. He'll be able to slide out there. Doesn't want to stay behind these GTDs. As you can see there in the back of your screen, the 96 of Thomas O'Leary trying to reel in that about 5-second gap in between the two.
Yeah, he's put that gap down, hasn't he? So O'Leary doing a good job, albeit maybe that's because Kraft has just gone through the traffic. I mean, if O'Leary can get through it all now without losing time, that would be really good from him. He's going to lose a bit of time through one now. Can he get past them both before turn 2? He can. That worked quite well there for O'Leary. You can see he maybe lost half a second through turn 1, but you know, it's much better than losing what could have been 2 seconds being held up round 2, 3, 4. So 5.5 seconds for O'Leary. That is smaller than what it was 10 minutes ago. And you can still see the race leader up the race. This P2 championship battle, winner takes all, is still very much alive.
Yeah, it is still very much alive. And on that last lap, it looked like O'Leary was about 0.8 of a second faster. Now, that is a result, I think, of some of the traffic that Daniel Kraft had to deal with. So traffic giveth and traffic taketh away here for these drivers. But now they both have some clean air to run in. The next car up the road is actually another LMP2 of Loins. And he is about, I would say, a third of the track ahead of them. So they'll be able to run clear here for a little bit. And we should be able to get a good indication of what these two's outright pace is O'Leary already bringing that gap down to the tune of about 0.7 of a second there just through those last couple of corners.
Yeah, really strong from him. See them use all the space possible. And yeah, it's quite a moment of calm for the top two at least. It's, yeah, got some clear air as Kraft setting some purple sectors on this lap. This could be a very quick time actually for Kraft because he wasn't held up through turn 1 and it is the fastest lap of the race. So O'Leary was held up by, we think, about half a second through turn 1, but even without that was much faster was Kraft that last time round, so that is more like it. I must say, whenever we've like watched those two, it always seems like Kraft is the faster man, but then, you know, we tune back in and the gap has come down a bit, as here was a change for lead in the GTD Pros, the teammates switching around. Fletcher now ahead of Callum Regarton, and in fact Varley has just got past as well. We won't see it on the, or we might see it on the replay if we stick with it long enough. But a change for second position as well. Was it into turn 1 that Varley made this move? No, well, it was midway through turn 1. A total mistake there from Callum Regarton, and so Varley moves up into P2, and Fletcher now with a 0.7 of a second lead.
All right, so that GTD Pro field starting to separate itself out a little bit. And yeah, you mentioned that mistake going through turn 1 there for Callum Regarton. That is very easy to do. You really try to send the corner in there as much as you can, chuck the car in deep, and just fight the understeer through the entire way. And sometimes you just get a little touch of it and it'll throw you off just enough. And I think that's exactly what happened there to Garton. But he's still going to be within draft range here on the Ullman Straight, so it's not going to be too much of a concern for him.
Yeah, he's had a good middle sector there, has Varley, so he has been able to close up the gap slightly. Was a 10th quicker in sector 4. Jesus, absolute mess. Why there's 7 sectors? I mean, this is when iRacing were just going on. This is one of the first tracks in iRacing. I think iRacing have learned since that you don't need a million sectors per corner for each track. But at this point, they were still learning, and so we got a lot of sectors. I have no clue what corners are covered by each sector, but well, sector 4 we know that's the middle one. Roughly, they are each between about 12 and 25 seconds in length in these GTD cars, at least. Stockman's is under huge pressure from Cooper at the moment on that last lap. Cooper gained half a second, and he's looking to overtake here, but he wasn't quite having enough into turn 1. We'll have to wait probably till sunset on the next lap, as Dupin has just got past Guiducci, by the way. So Dupin closing the lead to the leader as well, closing the gap to the leader, apologies. Still 26 seconds off the lead, but is closing that gap a bit, but he has just made up a place there.
Yes, he has. And remember, that is another recovery drive here from Anton Dupin, having that spin earlier on, losing a lot of time as he was leading earlier in the race. So that number 214 Porsche clearly has a lot of speed here, and it's just going to be a matter of him inching his way forward, clawing back that time as much as he can, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
So just looking at the points again. We haven't been very clear as well about the point structure for each race, for each round. But for each round, you get qualifying points and then you get race points. So the qualifying points for each class. So this is the GTDs overall. It's not divided by pro now, but it's the GTDs overall and the P2s overall. You go 35, 32, 30, 28, 26, 25. And then 24, 23, so on. Oh, as we've got an instant here, Guiducci having a very bad lap. He was already off the track earlier on. He's collided with Brian Loynes. That is a shame to see. We'll see what happened on the replay. So Guiducci's already letting him pass. Has he just totally missed his braking point? Yeah, he has. And it was a very small tap. Tried to go straight, tried to avoid him. To be fair, did manage to get stopped to avoid a secondary contact there. That's Brian Loynes, I'm sure, will not be happy with that one. But, oh man, I want to explain the points. But an exciting motor race is happening up on screen. And it's still Fletcher who leads the way. But Vale is getting closer and closer. And Vale knows that if he doesn't take the lead soon, then he's very at threats of dropping down to third.
Ooh, and a little bit of side-by-side here. Callum Reed-Garton wanting that position back from Preben Vale. I think Garton got a little bit of a better run there through those first couple of corners now as they fly out of Gurney Bend. Doesn't look like he got the perfect run, but the draft still coming into play as they go down into the hairpin. I think Garton could make this move if he wants to be super aggressive. He's going to poke his nose to the inside, tries to brake later on Vale. He's going to go for it, and it looks like he's going to have it.
Stuff there from the British driver, and once again it's an Altitude Esports 1-2. Vale drops down to third place, but they've already changed positions, have those guys once before. Do not rule out Vale this time, but that's not going to help them against Hereford and Grebstad and Warner, the BMW trio, along with of course Stockmans and Cooper, who are still very much in this race as well. So, yeah, but we are back to Fletcher and Gartz in the lead, and we wait to see, will Gartson go for the lead? I mean, he seems to have the pace, but, I mean, very tricky to tell kind of what's going on in this battle. I mean, Fletcher looked faster earlier on, he made the move fair and square, and now the momentum has switched between the two.
Yes, it has, and as they work their way onto the Almond Straight there, Vale behind really pushing. You can see just how far he was taking that car at the exit of Le Mans, almost pushing out onto the grass. I think Vale's got his blood up a little bit. We ride on board with the 136. Doesn't look like Garton wants to poke his nose quite yet. Content with second for now. Wants to just find a high percentage move, maybe to be able to take on his teammate there, Fletcher.
Guiducci, I think, will be considering retirement right now. He's had the worst lap, I think, in motorsports history because he's just gone off the track again, but has got back going. Lost 25 seconds or so through all of that. Ewan Kaiser is very close to Herbura and Hicks up ahead. They got the number 2 LMP2 car moving their way through as well. Here comes Herbura. Apologies, that's Kaiser. Apologies, going for the move. Herbura at the front of this train. So Kaiser is ahead of Hicks then after that one. As the number 2 goes up the inside, is there going to be space being left? There's a little bit of contact, I think, between the two. The GTD comes off the better. It's probably the slightly heavier car out of the two machines. But eventually that move is complete. Always very awkward to make a move around that part of the track. As Kochi is under huge pressure. This is from Edward Knight behind, who was dropping time earlier on in this race. He's been able to catch back up, and Knight, who I don't believe has won a race so far this season, would desperately like to do so at the last opportunity. he is getting alongside right now. It will be Kochi with a much better line though into the right-hander. If he breaks later, then surely nothing that his rival is able to do, and that is the case. So Kochi remains in the lead, but only by a whisker.
Yeah, and you saw Knight there looking for that over-under, the tire just searching for front grip there, trying to see if he was going to be able to keep that fight going. But as you said, Sam, around the outside there of Cunningham, really, really difficult to get a pass done there. You really need to be on the inside line. There's not a lot of camber on any of these corners, so it is pretty much the traditional line that you want to take as we've got pit stops starting to fire off now for the LMP2s.
Yeah, they've gotten a little bit further than I thought, actually. Only the first driver we're seeing in now, or first scheduled stop, I think we're seeing. And so, yeah, actually going to be getting pretty much to the 40-minute mark, so not particularly high fuel consumption for these cars out here tonight. Ken Clayton's rejoined the track. That's super close. Man, it's a dreadful pit exit here. I don't believe they're fixed. Maybe you know a bit more about this than me, DJ, as we have the race leader into the pits. But I do know that you've got a different pit wall now here at Sebring, but I think the pit entry in real life is still just as bad as that.
Yeah, the pit entry and pit exit are still very, very difficult here. It just feeds back on the outside of turn 1, and you've really got to be carrying a lot of heads-up mental space as you come through there. As I said earlier on, it's very easy to understeer coming through turn 1. It's a very fast corner, and the way the pit out bleeds into that, it is just always a danger zone.
Yeah, fortunately avoiding any incident that time. I remember racing in Neo a long time ago. I don't think I may not have been racing actually. I may have just been watching along. But I was part of a team at least, and I think we got quite a hefty penalty for an incident like that, because it is just so difficult. No one can see where anyone else is, and so it can cause a lot of crashes. Already back out is Kraft. Where is O'Leary? O'Leary also exiting the pit. Wow, that's very similar. Really, really similar. So 1 minute 4.32 versus 1 minute 4.25. Is that taking... apologies, so that's the pit lane transit time. I believe that might be taking tyres. I'm not 100% sure.
I don't know if they would or not. I wouldn't anticipate the LMP2s necessarily needing them here, but we could see, as we've got a couple other drivers, looks like Catchpole just exiting Daleman and King, and doesn't look like they're taking tires at the moment.
Yeah, so I think I may have been misinterpreting that one, so apologies for misleading anyone on that one. But yeah, just taking fuel, and seemingly the drivers, you are absolutely right. That's you wouldn't think that they'd take tyres, considering what we've seen in recent rounds. Apparently there was a change when we were talking after mid-Ohio. Apparently there was a change to the P2 when that the tyre wear was not as significant. I think since then it's been very easy for the drivers to get to the end of the race just on a single set of tyres. Only man who had a very short pit stop was Brian Loynes, but that was pit stop back on lap 7 of this race, very unscheduled, and already had pretty much half a tank of fuel on board, so wasn't able to take as much fuel as the others onto that car. Knight still very close to Kochi. Just battles going on all the way down. Really good race. And yeah, I think certainly Watkins getting the race of the season, but this one he's lining up to certainly be a rival to that, because every class is still up in the air at the moment, even the P2s, despite there being 7 seconds between Kraft and O'Leary. With the amount of traffic they're going to have to deal with, that could certainly still reduce by the end of the race. Quick shout out, by the way, to SDK Gaming, our overlay provider. It was pointed out by Sam Kume that you can actually see the sector time. So those dots represent the sectors being divided. So you can see sector 1 is basically turn 1, then you have all the others. You can see it for yourself. But the track map is one of the best elements on SDK Gaming. You've also got the timing tower, which is brilliant for multi-class racing on the left side of the screen. You've also got, of course, the live timing software, and you can use it as a heads-up display for whilst you're racing. So do check out sdk-gaming.co.uk in order to get yourself a subscription.
Indeed, a fantastic piece of software as we keep an eye here on this battle. The Simtech Racing Machine of Neil Cooper going side by side there a little bit earlier on. 24 Lamborghini looking like it's going to be slowed down a little bit as the LMP2 comes on through, and that is going to break up that intra-Lamborghini battle for the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure they will resume that one in the fairly near future. All those drivers. Of course, we do always have a BOP for this series. So basically, it's something like a success BOP, where whichever car does best at a previous round, they get an extra 25 kilos added to the guys. It's worked quite well. I mean, it's not necessarily, shall we say, the fairest system in the world, because obviously, you know, it's tricky to divide. Is it the car which has the advantage, or is it the driver? But I mean, I certainly support it, because it means that it's tricky for a driver to run away with the championship, because if you win a race, then you're pretty much going to have a weight bias on the next time. As we have side-by-side contact, Knight moves into the lead. Kochi gets shoved out there. Now, was Kochi squeezing him a bit there, because that contact came very early on in the corner?
Yeah, well, you can see the displeasure there from Kochi flashing his lights in all of this battling. This is just great news for Anton Dupin as Kochi continues to flash his lights. He definitely feels like that contact was not from his perspective. Dupin here able to close in. He's only 22 seconds behind, and he has been just reeling them in lap after lap.
The Lamborghini, by the way, with the... Apologies, it's not the Lamborghini. I didn't know if we've actually got the balance of performance, unfortunately, tonight. I'm sure there is one, but just don't have it in front of me what all the weights are. It was Lamborghini 2 weeks ago. Not sure where it is tonight, but certainly seems like all the cars are competitive. You absolutely make a good point that Dupin is going to be liking this one, because the gap has been coming down. It peaked at about 30 seconds. It's down to 21 seconds, so a long way to catch up. I'm sure Dupin will be thinking, oh my goodness, why have I made this one so tricky for myself? Having that instant earlier on, and that's not going to help either. Right there, getting onto the bumps through Sunset Bend. In fact, he's into the pits as Dupin. This is very early. He doesn't have to pit right now, but he's decided to pit very early. That's his, I didn't quite understand that one.
I'm not sure either. I mean, this is just about the opening of the pit window here. He should be able to make it to the end. I guess he is just banking on trying to come in here, maybe going off cycle a little bit to see what it could help him, but he's not going to have any buddies around him, so he may be able to run in some clean air. That could just be his hope, but he had plenty of clean air up ahead of him as he was running around in third place. Like we said, that 22-second gap up the road.
Earlier on, I was talking about the point system. Feels like about 5 hours ago, there was much more interesting things going on up on screen, so I kind of dropped that bit. But even though there are interesting things going on screen right now, I'll bring it back up, because the point system, you get 35 points basically for the win, and then you also get 350 points for the win, 35 points for qualifying. So basically the race counts for 10 times more than qualifying, but there is still some qualifying points, and that could genuinely decide the title in some of the classes. I'm just looking at the points, and I believe if it ended like this, Weston Hereford would be the champion in the GTD Pro category, because he's currently in 4th place, and he'll be getting himself 280 points. Meanwhile, we've got Christoph Rosedan in 10th place, and that is only worth 210, so that is a 70-point swing, and the gap going into this round, I believe was just under 70 points. It was 67 points. Plus, you add, of course, the points that Hereford would have gained in qualifying, because he qualified up in P2. I think that's another 15 points or so difference between the two of them. And so actually, Hereford would be in a championship winning position. Now I'm fully expecting Reyes to be able to move his way up the field by the end of the race. He's not too far off Royston Hereford, so a lot to change, but wow, we're going to need to get our calculators out here because Heather currently with the championship lead, but if Rays can just move his way up maybe 2 or 3 places, then all of a sudden it will swing back in his direction.
Yeah, exactly. We are definitely going to need to do some math here. And this is that battle that he is now involved with. Cooper, Perry, Rays coming onto the back of this now, as that's also Stockman's in the lap. BMW there of DeWolf getting in the way and really throwing a wrench into the works as everybody tries to dive their way through as they go into Jean Debian, able to clear DeWolf. Reyes there right in the background on in that Lamborghini that you just saw flit across your screen.
Cannot stress really enough just how strange it is to see Christopher struggle so much. I think it was Watkins Glen. He absolutely dominated. Absolutely no stopping him. And I mean, even when there's been times where the altitude esports drivers have been quicker, like they have been in the last couple of rounds. Ooh, as we got a spin in the background, it's that, that's DeWolf, who's made the mistake. He was a lap down already. And goes off into the wall there. I think that is pointing straight still, but that's is one less car for Rays to deal with. But yeah, anyone who's just tuned in for this round and you're thinking, oh, hang on, Rays in the lead of the championship, why is he down in 10th today? I have no idea. This is so unusual for him to be this far down the order. He really must just not like this track because his qualifying pace wasn't there. He hasn't had a setback or anything. He just has not been quick whatsoever. But, well, we need some form that he was showing in the early rounds of the championship in order to keep this championship lead for one more round and take the title win.
Well, he's working his way towards what he needs to do here. As I said, with Stockman's, Cooper, and Perry continuing to battle, he's just kind of inching his way forward on them. He doesn't need to be hyper-aggressive. He still has about 50 minutes left to go in this race. But yeah, as you said, Sam, very, very surprising to see him down in 10th. That Lamborghini has been absolutely dominant in previous rounds. To see him this far back, it may just be an issue, as you said. He may not like this track. You and I both said earlier, not exactly our favorite to drive, and sometimes it's as simple as that with drivers. They just can't find the rhythm of the track.
Yeah, like, I mean, I certainly have one of them with this track. It's just such a weird one. I mean, something about the curbs are very tricky to sort of deal with. You know, they're sort of quite threatening are the curves. Some of the corners have very tight exits, and so it's tricky to keep the car in the confines. And you got some weird kind of radius to the corners where they tighten up where you don't expect it. They're a very strange circuit, this, and some people absolutely adore it. Many people's favourite track in the entire world, certainly when it comes to sports cars like these. But yeah, often drivers do not like it as well. Ray's not really making much of an impression on these 3 drivers on that last lap because he actually lost time, lots of green laps there. I guess less P2s coming through these GTDs at the moment, so an opportunity for these drivers to be online or a greater portion of the lap. For the lead in the P2s, up to 9 seconds. This one is just getting away from Thomas O'Leary. It looked good for him at about the 25-minute mark when he was actually closing the gap back in, but since the pit stop, that gap has just been increasing ever so slightly, and he's increasingly looking like he's just going to have to rely on something happening to Dan Kraft. He's going to win this race rather than sort of winning it on pace himself.
Yeah, and right now where he is on track, it's not going to help him. Getting held up right now by Fletcher and Garten, battling for that GTD Pro lead. Dan Kraft able to pull away from them already, and so he is going to just continue to grow that gap. And for the first time this race, we just saw it tick over 10 seconds. So getting into that double-digit mark, that is not good for O'Leary. He just wants to be pushing as hard as he can now to try to close that in, but we just haven't seen him really be able to match the speed of Kraft thus far.
And of course their fuel after the first pit stop switch often has varied quite a bit this season. You know, often a driver maybe has been able to eke out an extra lap of fuel in the first stint, maybe taken more fuel in their first stint and then less fuel in their second stint. Certainly seemed to be the case last time out. There was no difference in the pit stops. They are on the exact same strategy. I believe we'll be going as far as possible in this second stint. Should be able to reach about the 1 hour 20 mark or so before making their final pit stop of the season. And so there's no real advantage for O'Leary with that. You know, he hasn't got like an extra card up his sleeve. We're not expecting him to close the gap. He really needs either a sudden increase in pace or something to happen to the race leader. In the GTD race leader, in fact, we've got a bit of side-by-side here. This is Perry versus Cooper. Cooper on the outside, and still on the outside is the Simtech Racing driver, and still on the outside they are giving each other space. This is brilliant stuff, and this is great news for Race, who has all of a sudden closed up this gap significantly. It was Cooper who was much slower on the last lap, so I think it's Perry who's trying to get past. He hasn't been able to get past, and in the end it's just lost them a whole heap of time. And so now we've got Race right on the turn. If Race can pass these two drivers, I think that might put him into championship winning position.
Yeah, and he will know that for sure. And now that he is going to be close enough here, that's going to be a great boon to him, particularly down the Ullman Straight, being able to pick up a good amount of that tow as they continue to go around these obviously 3 Lamborghinis. It's all going to come down to setup between these cars and how they feel. But Ray's able to have that gap at about 0.5 of a second. That is good position to be in. He's just going to try to nail the run here through Bishop Bend and down through Jean Debienne and try to maybe get a really good blast down Le Mans.
Let's see if he can do anything here. I think ideally for Race, these guys either don't battle, keep up a good pace and give him a nice tow, that would be good, or they take each other out and he gains 2 places. I think that would be the 2 best scenarios. He does not want to get involved in this battle as they go alongside once again. Perry getting his nose ahead. What pace being carried there by Perry, but he's on to sort of the unknown bit of the track as they're into the pits. Interesting, 53 minutes. I thought they'd be able to go a few more minutes than that. But that seems to be as far as they could go. And Ray's into the pits. That's not good news for him. He wasn't able to go as long on fuel as others. Or maybe this is just a tactical thing. Maybe he's trying to do the undercut on the other drivers.
Exactly. I mean, you were talking about not wanting to have to get involved in that battle. This may have just been his hope to be able to do that, hoping here to leapfrog Cooper in the pits. We'll have to see how they come out and around as we focus in back on the battle for P1. These guys are still so tight with each other. Fletcher, Garten, Bale, Hereford, and Grebstad just running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That seemed to be a bit more of a 4-way battle now. Warner, to be fair, matched these guys on the last lap. Stockman's wasn't much slower either. He's now 2.5 seconds behind. Is Chris Warner, of course, crucially not going to be saving fuel just by, you know, being on full throttle. If you got the draft ahead, then it can really help. I recall the Formula 1 just talking about it a bit more, that, you know, just you know, having less drag not only does it, of course, improve your pace, but also really does improve your fuel consumption and your energy usage as well. Just makes the car so much more efficient down the straights, and that will certainly be the case in these GT cars as well. So really important that you stay in the pack. Well, they're just dropping a little bit of time. That will be good news for the Altitude Esports guys, who will be thinking about coming to the pits. I imagine at least one of these guys will be able to do an extra lap, but well, this was kind of tell us if Ray's was undercutting or whether that was as far as he could go. Whether or not these drivers come into the pits. 55 minutes is kind of as early as I thought they'd come into the pits, and they continue for another lap. So it does seem like that pit stop there for Ray's was a tactical decision. Warner, though, does make a beeline for the pits.
Yeah, I think responding a little bit to those earlier pit stops. And yeah, Ray's just trying to go for a tactical decision there. And I think with the lack of pace that we've really seen him have today, that's a good call. And you can see, able to jump Cooper there and able to jump him in the pit lane. That's exactly what Ray's needed to do. Now he has just got to try to put in some really good laps here, but Cooper not letting it go by easily.
Yeah, if he's able to chat on the radio, I'm sure just needs to be telling Cooper, all right, mate, just let me have this one. Just let me have this one. I need the championship. It means a bit more to me than you, or at least work together in this situation, because Ray's, you know, he doesn't want to be fighting on 2 fronts. He wants to be pushing ahead rather than be concerned at what's going on behind. Fortunately for him, the P2 started fighting, and there was a little bit of a battle between them. Warner coming out of the pits. He's going to be way clear of Raze. He was already clear of Raze by about 5 seconds before the pit stop, so no concerns there for Warner. And gets back out, good awareness there from the car number 9. I think that's John Tusting, just to leave a bit of space through turn 1. Ray's actually not far behind, is he? So he's made up some time in that. 3 seconds now is the gap. Not quite sure how many cars up Ray's has got to get in order to win the title. Of course, it very much depends on what Hereford does further up the road. But that's pretty good news there for Ray's. He managed to gain 2 seconds on Warner in that pit stop sequence.
Yes, it is, and it's also going to be a good indicator here for that battle that he was going to be having up ahead with that other Lamborghini driver of Perry, that he should be able to jump him as well if he continues on this pace that he is currently on. Cooper looking like he's losing just a hair of time to Raze, and that's going to be good news for Christoph as O'Leary gets his way by. That gap between himself and Kraft continuing to hover at about 10 seconds.
Yeah, really good lap there from O'Leary, going by, well, it wasn't a particularly good lap, it was a poor lap for Kraft. O'Leary was able to gain by a second, but I wonder if that was just traffic, which was holding up the race leader. We have got Stockman's in, Grebstad in, and Herbera all into the pits then. So this is kind of, yeah, more what I thought. I did think that, certainly when the P2s went as far as they went, I thought that a few drivers would reach the hour mark, and it looks like it'll be close for a few drivers. Kochi into the pits then. So keep an eye out for how far ahead he is of Dupin. I've occasionally looked down at Dupin's pace, and it's not especially good. So I doubt Dupin would have got that gap much below 20 seconds. It was about 22 seconds when he came into the pits earlier on for a really odd pit stop. He came in very early, but it seems a bit pointless to pit so early when, you know, you're not going to even be taking tyres. You know, all you're going to do there is just run higher fuel for a higher portion of the race. So I'm not sure what the logic there for Dupin was. His pace has been alright, and of course he is in the championship battle, but he needs to get a lot higher up the order. Kochi already coming out of the pits, apparently. So, yeah, he's going to be way clear.
Yeah, going to be way closers here. So that we see them coming out. Kochi working his way out of the pits. Now that gap going to be coming out as he gets onto speed. Luckily there for him, not going to have to deal with any traffic coming around. Same can't be said for Kaiser there behind as he's having to work his way with Claysons and Hodgsons coming around as well.
Or sector or something for Vale. The gap's up to... Apologies, no. Not a bad sector there for Vale. A bit of a poor lap for Hereford. Just dropped a little bit off in 4th place. You can see the top 3 really close in the GTD Pros. Hereford just dropping off the back slightly. 21 seconds between Kochi and Dupin, so it's literally not changed in that pit stop sequence. So that's good news there for Kochi. Doesn't need to beat Dupin tonight, but just needs to be fairly close to him in the standings. And the championship will be the Czech drivers. Well, of course, I'm sure he would like to beat Knight, so Knight probably pitting on this next lap. Be close between the two of them. Fletcher, geez, they are going a long way, aren't they? They are going to go over the hour mark. Here comes Knight then, and we'll see if he is able to stay ahead. Also, Perry into the pits. So currently, Reyes is on the back straight, I believe. So he will be approaching that corner. It could be very close between Perry and Reyes when they come into the pits, as in fact Reyes has had a problem, and this was it. Made contact. Has he been able to hit the wall? He has not hit the wall, fortunately. That was contact with Chris Warner, I believe, and that could be a huge change in the championship.
Yes, indeed, it could. As you said, very lucky not to be able to get damage there as we watch Tim Perry coming out. A good gap over Christoph Reyes, so that's going to put him back down into position. That is not good for him. He's going to be in 10th place yet again as everything comes out. Cooper and Perry still up the road from him.
Well, that is really bad news, as Cooper is waiting to let that position go then. May have been instructed by the organisers, and so he gains back 1 place, but I mean it's you know, he's given up the place there, but from Ray's perspective he needs a lot more than this in order to win the title. and that could have just swung the title away. He wasn't in championship winning position in the first place, maybe, but he really needed that not to happen. Gartson continues. He was saving fuel. That's remarkable considering that he led for a decent while. Gartson was still able to go further on fuel than Fletcher and Varley. Hereford into the pits as well. And so, going to be important here who can come out ahead of Varley and Fletcher.
And I think that may have been Vale there that missed his pit stall slightly. And so that will set him back. We'll have to wait and see who is able to get out on earlier here. But not good news there in pit lane. There's little mistakes that could end up being a big factor in this race.
And that's brilliant for Callum Reed-Garton, who's really got an opportunity now to break the draft. Wow, Fletcher's way ahead, isn't he? Gosh. Now is Hereford ahead of Varley as well? Wow, so you absolutely spotted it correctly there. Varley getting held up there, overshooting his pit stall, and Hereford moves up to P3 now, which is even better for the Norwegian driver, but now they're going to go alongside and actually just taking the shorter route out of the pit lane there, Varley. He won't get a penalty for that, it seems, and he moves back straight ahead, so just that know-how of how far you can push the pit lane exit, working to the 136's advantage. However, they have lost 6 seconds or so to Billy Fletcher, who had a remarkably short pit stop.
Yeah, only 27 seconds there for Billy Fletcher. That is the quickest pit stop that we have seen thus far out of the GTD Pro field, I believe. And indeed, pretty much the fastest we've seen across the board for any of these GT cars. So, Fletcher there must be confident on his fuel consumption that he's able to go a little bit longer. Excuse me, Stockman's was actually faster with a 25.7.
That's insane for Stockman's. Of course, as Gartson, oh, he's pushed that hard, hasn't he? Well, he did manage to get stopped, but he needed to take out a couple of cones. Now, I mean, I'm not entirely confident about Fletcher's fuel because he did run out last time. He was fuel saving for significantly for the last 15 minutes or so, and it maybe cost him the race win. Also, the contact with another car, with a P2 car, didn't help either. But will Gartson be even shorter than that? I don't know. Well, we'll see. Because, yeah, that is so short for Fletcher. I mean, 58 seconds was the transit time. That is 6 seconds shorter than sort of the average, which is a huge amount. I mean, we're talking about taking about a fifth less fuel, 20% less fuel than some of the other drivers. To save that amount of fuel is absolutely incredible there from Fletcher. Gartson is exiting the pits at the moment. Looks like they're still going to be close, but Gartson will be ahead. He had a 58.8 second pit stop, pretty much exactly the same pit stop time, and they are still nose to tail. So it's turned into a two-way battle. Those guys were saving an insane amount of fuel in that first step.
Yeah, they really were. And Stockman's down pit lane again, so I think he may have underfueled that car and had to come in for a little bit of a top-up because he knew he wasn't going to be able to make it to the end. But yeah, that 27.3, 27.8 there, stationary in the box with Garton and Fletcher respectively, really paying dividends.
And that could be crucial for Race, because there was no chance of Race regaining that place from Stockman. So he was 15 seconds behind Stockman. So Ray's now in 8th place, Hereford in 4th. Now, as far as I'm aware, and I'd super appreciate if anyone on the YouTube chat knows, I don't believe Varley and Hereford are in the same team. They're both Norwegian, but half the drivers in sim racing, at least in the past 12 months, are Norwegian, and so that isn't necessarily indicative of whether they're teammates or not. So I believe they're not affiliated with one another, because it could come down to this battle for P3. Right now, Ray's 12 seconds off Perry. He's not closing in. He's actually lost time to Perry, despite the fact that he seemed to be faster in that first stint, or near the end of that first stint. He's lost time in his second stint. And so I'll look at the points in a little bit, see what the situation is. But I think Hereford may have to beat Varley in order to win the title. Here's Varley, he runs a little bit wide.
Yeah, Varley's got to be a little bit careful there. That pressure behind from Hereford, and that is going to be crucial here. Hereford wants to get forward for those points, and he is going to know he will have either a team or a relative box telling him where Rays is, rest assured. So he's going to have to be careful here.
Knight keeping the lead in the AMS, by the way, still ahead of Kochi. Hodgson, I swear, I haven't noticed so far in this race. I think Hodgson hasn't had... Apologies, no, apologies. Hodgson is not in the race. So, yeah, Hodgson pitted on lap 6. He had a problem of some kind. I'm not sure what it was, but Hodgson is not in this race. He will drop down to P4 once he makes his second pit stop, because he had to take an emergency one earlier on, so he's not in the race. I was very concerned then. Basically forgotten the American was in play. Hodgson, a driver who always comes close to race wins, just missing out on several occasions, particularly Road Atlanta, I think, at the start of the season. Really deserved to win on that time before Kochi ended up taking the race win from him. This is close at the moment. PJ Clayton's versus Catchpole on the comeback show. Remember, he was running in P3 earlier on, then had a spin, taking him a while to get back up. Still got 12 seconds to catch up to Freitas, but right now his attention is purely on the 22 up ahead.
Yeah, just trying to see if there is anything that he can do here to get going. That 22 trying to put up a good defense. I have to wonder here what could have happened in this race had Catchpole not had that early incident. Maybe a little bit of a draft buddy for O'Leary to be able to help him get forward. Maybe a fuel saving buddy is in the same kind of way. Just the coulda, woulda, shouldas here for Alistair Catchpole and his teammate O'Leary.
Yeah, I'm doing quick maths here. This is intense stuff right now. So I believe, so the gap was 67 points between Hereford and Rays going into this race. Hereford outscored, I believe, by 8 points in qualifying. So the gap was 59 points going into this race. At the moment, the points difference between the two of them, fourth versus 8th, would be 50 points. So I believe at the moment it would be Christoph Rose would be the champion still if it ended like this. But if Hereford can get P3, he will win the championship himself. And had it not been for Stockman's coming into the pits, then, you know, Stockman's pitting has put Reyes into championship winning position. So that's the sorts of situation at the moment. Reyes has to remain in 8th place in order to win the championship. But if Hereford beats Varley, then he wins the championship. I believe that's the case at least. And, well, hopefully we'll get some clarification or some confirmation from the organisers at some points in the event. This is a very close championship at the moment. And by the way, Varley and Hereford are in the same team and are friends in real life. And so, according to Toyo Flatten, thanks to Toyo and congratulations to him for his title win last week in the Touring Car Championship, Varley will most likely let Hereford past. So, the plot thickens at the moment. We believe Varley will let Hereford past, and so that means Hereford is back into championship winning position, and it means that Reyes is the one who has to do the work. So yeah, it's tricky still what's going on, but it looks as though it's advantage Hereford at the moment.
Yeah, it looks that way, and I don't know about you, Sam, but my notepad here is all sorts of scribbled on trying to do this math. Very, very intriguing stuff. Have to imagine that with those teammates, you probably want to keep in this way for now, just to try to save a little bit of fuel for Hereford. Make sure that he's going to have a comfortable room ahead of him, and it may just be also that Varley's got a little bit more speed and can be able to pull him along at a higher rate of knots as they work their way around.
Yeah, that certainly is worth doing. Sorts of, bringing him home. Currently a big gap back to Grebstad. They don't need to be worried about their pace in comparison to him. And so looking very good on that front. Grebstad now with a mistake, in fact. Was off the track, lost about half a second there. And they are closing in as Varley moves past. Now what's going on with Fletcher? What is going on with Billy Fletcher? He has suddenly slowed by about 6 seconds. Was that a mistake for Fletcher? I didn't see it if it was the case. And here comes Hereford trying to get underneath him. Almost contact between the two of them. Fletcher stays ahead though. I wonder if we get a replay of that. That must have been a mistake surely from him.
Yeah, a mistake or a slowdown potentially here. You're watching that second placed machine as he comes through, taking a lot of the curbing there. It was a mistake. It was a spin.
Wow. I could barely believe it when I saw it. I straight away thought, oh, it must be a hardware failure for him. But no, it was just was a mistake from Billy Fletcher, and they are very rare. And well, it means Callum Reed-Gartson is a long way clear now of the rest. Also a problem for the 9th place car in one of the classes. I'm not quite sure who it is. But just down at the hairpin, but that seems to have sorted itself out. But yeah, Fletcher down to 3rd place then. Is a car between Varley and Hereford. Well, we'll see if he's got the pace, because honestly, Varley and Hereford have had very good pace in this second stint. I mean, the gap to Gartson actually remaining at about 6 seconds, so their pace isn't slow. So Fletcher kind of did the hard work with the fuel saving, and now he's sort of throwing it all away, and I don't think he's necessarily going to have the pace to overhaul Varley up ahead.
No, we've seen some great speed out of that 136, and I just think he may be in his head a little bit here. Fletcher trying to regain from that mistake can be very tricky as a driver once you make a mistake like that and you've got to drive through that corner again and again and again. You only think about the mistake as you go around, and so you've got to just put that out of your mind. He's closing here. It's about 0.4 of a second between himself and Vale. He's closing down in the draft, so it's clearly some good straight line speed out of that Lamborghini, but he has got it all to do still here now.
Brings us into the pits for what should be his final pit stop of the season. It was also yeah, that will be his final pit stop of the season. Interestingly, very early there for Freitas. Might be an opportunity to catch pole to cut down that gap by the end of the race with a shorter second pit stop if he needs less fuel to get to the end. Knight and Kochi are super close. Kochi got the gap down to about 0.2 of a second at one point. Dupin not making any impression, once again just maintaining. Dupin no doubt had the pace to win this race tonight, but a mistake at turn 1 in the very early stages on lap 3 or 4 I think sent him way back, lost him half a minute, and he has not been really close to the gain since, unless Knight and Kochi really start to battle a lot and lose each other a lot of time out there. And they've also got another car just in front of them to do with as well. Of course, points are awarded for the overall position in the GTD category, so the AMs do want to beat the pros and vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. Try to get as many points as you can on the board as we follow Hicks here as he works his way around the circuit. Knight and Kochi behind him. And yeah, a little bit surprising. We saw Dupin able to catch up a little bit more earlier on in the race, and it just looks like that gap is stagnated here. But hopefully, if Dupin is going to be able to gain anything in here in this last 25 minutes or so, he's going to hope that Knight, Kochi, and Hicks up ahead just kind of continue to battle, and that'll help him reel in.
Yeah, it could be, surely that's his only chance, I would have thought. And they'll need to start batting very soon because we have not got a lot of time remaining in this race. No more pit stops as well for these GTD cars to have to complete. Everyone is getting to the end from here. Maybe Valet, Euroge Valet may have to come to the pits again. He pits on lap 9. I suppose he's got as far as this, but he'll be pitting quite soon. But he is last of the runners at the moment, so not too noticeable. You see him 2 laps down there in the GTD category. Shout out to Apex Racing Academy for being another sponsor for this broadcast. Apex Racing Academy offering 29 data packs. And those data packs including setups, track guides, is integrated with BRS, and also you can also get weekly group coaching sessions as well. So that is setups and such for 29 different cars on iRacing as the P2 leader comes into the pits. Yeah, designed by some of the very best drivers in all of iRacing. So do make sure to check out apexracingac.com in order to get yourself a bronze, silver or gold membership. O'Leary, interestingly, into the pits as well. They were pushing the fuel as long as possible. We were saying how they pitted on the same lap earlier on. They put the exact same amounts of fuel in, and now they pit at the same time as well. And this championship, which has been led for so long by O'Leary, literally like lap 3, race 1, it has always been led by O'Leary. But since then, or tonight, it has switched hands. Craft, surely with one hand on the trophy right now.
Yeah, he's just got to keep himself focused here and make sure that he doesn't make any mistakes in these closing 25 minutes or so. But speaking of minimizing mistakes, we continue to follow that battle with Vale, Fletcher, and Hereford now starting to close in behind as well. Although that gap between Fletcher and Hereford expanding out a little bit. Battle for GTD AM, though, still very fierce as well.
So they've been able to get past Hicks, haven't they? So good work then from Knights and Kochi to be able to get past the pro drivers. Mochek falls off the track. He is all by himself. He's got like half a lap in front of him to the next car, half a lap behind him to the car behind. So no worries for him there. But is there going to be a change in the lead of that battle here? Was Hereford then? No, he didn't hit Kochi, did he? Oh, not Kochi. Mochek. Oh, he did hit Mochek. Wow. So, I mean, it's not easy for Oyster. He's got a lot of things going on at the moment. But that shouldn't be too bad for Hereford. It'll cost him a bit down the straights, but remember, he's got Marley, his teammate, up ahead, who will slow to let him past, we believe. Grebstad is another teammate who isn't going to overtake him, so really, the closest driver that he's got to be concerned about is Chris Warner, and Chris Warner is still over 10 seconds behind him. So it should be all right that for Hereford, but man, he didn't want that.
No, he certainly did not, and that was a pretty substantial impact there for him. So I'd hope he'd be able to continue around here and not have too much damage. As Kochi now looking a little bit on Knight as they work their way through Bishop Bend. This battle for GTD AM still fierce.
It's as pretty much as close as he's been around this part of the lap, at least from what I've seen. Really good driving lines though, really nice stuff there from that. Yeah, there's just something about that section of the track, you're just threading the needle. I mean, you want to attack the curves, you have to attack the curves, but you could attack it too much, then you're gonna sort of ride them a bit like a skateboard almost, and really lose a lot of grip. But they were absolutely nailing it. The pair of them, that's not nailing it though. For Kochi, really ran out of space on the outside of the corner, had to lift out of the throttle, and it gives Knight a bit of a respite. Dupin gets the gap down to 20 seconds now, so he has closed in a bit, about a second a lap faster recently. But I mean, he needs 2 seconds lap. He's going to catch up by the end of the race right now, so shouldn't really be a factor. As Hicks, sorry, ahead of Kochi. I may have just missed that one there, but Hicks actually getting ahead of Kochi. So once again, a car between the two GTD AM leaders.
Yeah, buying a little bit of time there for Knight to just try to breathe a little bit, but some LMP2s starting to work their way through as well. That's Fritas down to the inside. Moyne's about to come up as well. I'm curious to see if that is going to affect this battle at all. Oh, that is Fritas being very aggressive, running across the grass.
Fletcher getting ahead of Vale for P2 in the GTD Pros. Has he been able to make that move stick? It looks like he has. So Fletcher back up to P2, the position that he was in before he made a mistake in the second sector earlier on in the race. 7 seconds to catch up to his teammate. I don't think that's going to happen unless they choreograph something. Of course, Fletcher coming close to the race win last time out. They may want to do that, but I imagine I'll just let Gartson take the race win. Hereford, what was Hereford's lap time that last time round? 22 minutes 2:02.1. That's a bit off the pace. Okay, keep tuned everyone. We believe Hereford, of course, is going to win the championship if it ends like this. Well, providing that Vale lets them past. But a second a lap, maybe that could bring Warner back into the battle by the end of the race. The gap between Hereford and Warner is currently 8 seconds.
Yeah, currently 8 seconds. And remember, Hereford, with that big impact at the front of the car, I wonder if the aerodynamics are a little bit off in it. I wonder if maybe there's a slight bit of engine or suspension damage to that car. There's a multitude of things that could have gone wrong with that front end impact. And that is not what you want to have see as he tries to close in on the end of this race and indeed in on the title.
His first sector, the last couple of laps, has been really not very good. Well, not dreadful. I mean, it's one corner, so he's not going to lose a lot of time. But that's the part of the track where I think you're going to kind of be assessing the straight line speed. Of course, you got the second half of the pit straight. It seems to be losing about 1/10.5 there, which doesn't sound so bad, but obviously when you've got 7 sectors and you've got that long back straight as well, that's really going to be where you're going to be struggling. So, of course, good news for him. Once again, he's got Krebstad behind him, his own teammate. Krebstad could even hold up Warner deliberately, perhaps to act as a bodyguard to Hereford, but it is a real pain. And they start to see that Krebstad could do that against Warner. Of course, maybe we're jumping to conclusions. Maybe we'll put up in a very good lap. Maybe we'll set a personal best lap this time around. We'll keep an eye on the times. But at least it's not looking very quick right now for Hereford. That gap now up to 4 seconds between himself and Varley. Hereford this time was in the 2-minute 2s the lap before. 2-minute 1.4, that's much better there from Hereford. So that's more like it. He's still off the pace, but not losing as much time as he was before. Only lost half a second that time to Chris Warner. That would be enough to keep that P4 to the end of the race.
Yes, it would, and I wonder if maybe that 202 that we saw previously was just as a result of some bad lap traffic or something of that nature there for Hereford as he now pilots his way around trying to get by. He will have DeWolf in front of him that he will need to get around. That is a lapped car directly ahead.
And it was a better first sector actually on this time as well, and he lost about half a tenth to Chris Warner at that time after the first sector. So yeah, damage doesn't seem to be too bad. He's making an impact. I mean, he's certainly slower than he was before, but it's not as bad as what I first feared. Edward Knights is off the track, and that is Kochi with a big lead now in the AMS. Was there contact between the two of them? They were battling alongside for a long time, along with Ben Hicks. So it's actually Hicks is the Ferrari behind him, but it's like all by himself. He turns into the corner, has no rear end grip, and he does make a bit of contact with the wall as well. But no, just avoided it in fact.
And Sam, that is just a result of running around here for as long as we have been, about an hour and 20 minutes. Those rear tires starting to scream out a little bit. Rear wheel drive BMW there. And I think he may just be starting to come to the end of that tire life. And he is now going to really have to coax that car around here for the final 15 minutes or so.
Flashbacks to Watkins Glen, where Knight was leading the race but decided not to take tyres at his pit stop. And he was lapping 4 seconds a lap slower than his rivals by the end of the race. In the end, pitted with about 10 minutes to go, which of course is insane round Watkins Glen. I mean, that's one of the longest pit lanes in North America. 26 seconds stationary for a set of tyres, but he was losing so much time that it was worth doing. And frankly, he would have probably got a puncture eventually anyway. I think that is what happens when you reach 0% tyre tread. I don't think it's as serious as that for Knight by any means, seeing that no one else has taken tyres, but maybe slight flashbacks to that race. Still in P2, at least for him. Fletcher maintaining to second place. Garton still very much dominating in that class. And now 5 seconds behind these guys, while they're not close, but at Sebring you do need a decent sort of pace advantage, and there's no sign of Varley having that pace advantage, albeit he was about a fifth of a car's length behind under the braking there.
Yeah, very, very close. I won. As he's getting a little bit aggressive there, trying to poke his nose to the inside of Tower Turn. I think he's just trying to see if he can force a mistake here out of Fletcher, just trying to fill those rearview mirrors, running that car all the way out onto the grass there at the exit on the Flying Fortress straight, doing a really, really great job of trying to apply pressure to that Lamborghini.
Yeah, when I said there was no sign of him overtaking, I was absolutely totally wrong. because he's all over the back of him, and that's a much better exit now onto the back straight. You could see a move for second position coming in just a moment. Fletcher in P2 at the moment. Varley gets it down to a 10th.5, but of course no opportunity into Sunset Bend, no sort of braking area, you sort of lift off on the entry. It's only in the second part of the corner that you get onto the brakes. This time he's close again, 10th.5, and turn 1 is a much better opportunity. It is more of a braking zone, and you can really diagonalize the corner in order to take the shorter route, such a wide turn, and of course, Varley though not close enough to get ahead, and they stay in that order. Has something happened to Perry? Yeah, something's just happened to Tim Perry, I think. He's just dropped about 10 seconds. He was very close to Warner. This could be significant for the championship because Reyes is behind him. I think he's still quite far behind him. Oh, was there contact with the 22? That's PJ Clayson's, I think. Oh, yeah, just lost it by himself, did Tim Perry.
Yeah, I did. Again, the rear tire wear, I think, coming into play. Drivers just trying to push a little bit too hard here, potentially, as they go around. So everybody really having to use the softest of shoes here to keep going around on this track to make sure that everything is kept underneath them. You cannot push too hard. You cannot be too aggressive this late on in a race with no tire stops.
Terry Platson, just lets me know about the fact that Varley and Hereford are in the same team. Terry just saying, don't know if Preben actually knows that Hereford needs to be P3. Well, Terry, contact them in that case and get them switching around. I believe Terry is Ignium Motorsports. I feel like everyone was Ignium Motorsports in the TCR series, so I think that's a decent shout. But get on the phone and sort out the points. I mean, I might not be correct with these points, but certainly it's not going to hurt him, is it, by putting him up into 3rd place, because it's a 20-point difference between 3rd and 4th place. 10 points usually, 10 points between 4th, 5th, 5th, 6th, whatever, but 20 points, and that would almost certainly sway it in Hereford's direction. Reyes would need to move up into P6, I think, in order to counteract something like that, and there's no sign of that happening. Need to get about 20 seconds further up the road, yeah, we don't know. I mean, there's certainly no sign of Varley slowing up at the moment, but maybe he wants to, you know, do a race here, and then on the last lap slow to a grinding halt, and, you know, maybe try to get ahead of Fletcher, then go to a halt, and very much think, well, I could have got P2, but I'm going to give up the place. But yeah, it's really interesting. It'd be remarkable if they lost the championship because they didn't know the point situation.
I have to think they're in some kind of communication with one another, but I think here for Varley, this is just a little bit of racer's instinct. You can see that car up in front of you. You do not want to let up on the fight. You want to keep attacking as much as possible. And we'll have to see if Team Mortars come into play here later on or not as they work their way through Cunningham right now. Around here, this is the part of the track where Varley has been very, very aggressive, really trying to position his car in some unorthodox areas to try to see if he can force a mistake out of Fletcher.
Final shout out of the day to Virtual Racing School. Virtual Racing School offering 50 data packs for both road and oval racing. Those data packs including setups, track guides, their fantastic data analysis software which enables you to compare your telemetry to a real life or to a pro level driver. Many of them are real life drivers, to be fair, as well. Mitchell de Jong, I think, one of the coaches over there, and you can get one-on-one coaching with some of the best drivers as well. So big thanks to Virtual Racing School. Do check out virtualracingschool.com, and yeah, huge thanks for them supporting us on Apex Racing TV. Yeah, check out their hardware as well. Got some fantastic products through Virtual Racing School. So really entering that line of products. So yeah, do make sure to give them a check out. Varley with a slight mistake. Going onto the back straight there. Just about a 10th of a second. Still wasn't close enough to pass Gartson, albeit that's a slightly better line, it looked like, through this first part of the lap. Now 7.4 seconds over Hereford. What was Hereford's lap that last time round. 2 minutes 1.5. Lost no time. The cars behind, but yeah, 7 seconds behind Fletcher and Barley after following them for pretty much the entire race, remember. So yeah, that damage has really cost him, it seems. Just a reminder, the P2 championship situation, it is all down Kraft at the moment. O'Leary came into this race championship leader. He had 3 wins to Kraft's 2, but with the extra qualifying points that Kraft has got, Kraft just needs to match the number of race wins that O'Leary has, and he will be the champion. And it looks as though he's going to be the champion at the moment. 17 seconds clear of the Friction Racing driver, and continuing to extend that gap. Last time round was half a second quicker than his rival.
Yeah, able to just continue that going. The gap, as you said, about 17 seconds. He's got plenty of breathing room here. Doesn't need to be too aggressive to pass Grebstad or DeWolf here. He can just kind of do this at his own leisure with only 8 minutes to go. He is in complete and total control of this race.
O'Leary not doing a whole lot wrong. He made a mistake very early on and lost 4.5 seconds, sorry, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it was going to make the difference. It wasn't like a Daytona where he could have just stayed in the slipstream either. I mean, it was only a matter of time, surely, till he got held up behind a GT car. You can't just rely on staying in the slipstream. Hasn't had bad pace on, so I mean, O'Leary's not been much further off the pace tonight than he has been sort of at the other rounds, but hasn't been able to, or hasn't been afforded any sort of chink in the armor from Kraft. So O'Leary looking very good. Grebstad slightly off the track. It's highlighting on our screen, but he seems to be alright. The heart went very high right there, but no, Grebstad remains in P5 still. Still Kochi, leader of the GTD AMS.
Yeah, Kochi able to pull that out, and even with that mistake from Knight, it looks like Dupin still about 8 seconds behind him and not really putting in the lap times to be able to catch him with quite as much speed as he would like to. So I think that's going to be job done there for Knight.
Could be a good four-way battle here between Hicks and Kochi, who are being glued to one another for, I think, frankly, most of this race, but certainly the last 20 minutes they have been. And then behind them, they've got Cooper catching up along with Euro and Kaiser as well. I can't remember what happened to Neil Cooper earlier on. I think it may have been Cooper who collided with Reyes, but then he seemed to proceed to lose a bunch more time on top of that. So I don't know why he did that. Maybe he had a spin. I don't know if you remember anything, DJ, but I assume he's, you know, kind of on the comeback trail here. He has got some damage on that car.
Yeah, some damage there that he picked up, so not entirely sure where it is. I don't remember seeing that damage necessarily hit out, Sam, but that car's clearly just kind of limping its way around here at this point. That battle he was having earlier out of his reach in these late stages.
In fact, Ray is only 3 seconds ahead of Herbert now. Ray's pace hasn't really improved in the second stint. I've just been waiting this entire race for him to suddenly just switch it on, but just a really disappointing round for Christoph Reyes, not with the pace. You know, only 3 seconds ahead of Herbert. Should be able to hang on to that position to the end, but even with, I mean, you know, Perry made a mistake in everything. Perry had a spin at Sunset, lost probably 10, 12 seconds, and even then, Reyes nowhere near close enough to pick up the pieces. Hicks, yeah, just staying ahead of Kochi at the moment, but here comes Kochi. So again, one of these mini battles, a bit like the Altitude Esports guys. Whoever is behind seems to always be quicker. Switch places, I think 3 or 4 occasions already. Kochi trying to add one more to that list here. He's not going to be close enough into turn 1. If he doesn't get this one done soon, then Warner and Carr are going to be very close behind.
Yes, they are. So he is going to try to really get that move done. 4.5 minutes to go. I expect Kochi to be in full push mode here. He does not want to be caught out. He wants to continue to try to push ahead here. He does have Freitas coming up behind him, though, in the LMP2. That could present an opportunity for him. Bad run there for Hicks.
Yeah, and Kochi ended up having to get out of the throttle himself, so he can't just kill both of their runs. through that. And there goes Freitas past them. Catchpole catching up to Freitas. I think he had a slightly shorter pit stop, but he's still not looking like he's going to catch up. 6.6 seconds for Catchpole. Remember, he lost, I can't even recall how much time he lost actually earlier on with that incident. It must have been like 20 seconds or so, and plus had to make his way through some other P2s, which would have lost him time. But he's made up most of the gap basically, but we catch up by the end. Here is Daleman versus King. King on that last lap was 1.3 seconds faster. And he's trying to get the job done here. They go either side of the BMW. Who's going to come out on top? It's still Daleman. King's very tight into the corner. Will he be able to get it stopped? He was just about early enough on the brakes. But Daleman is hanging on to that position. They've also got the 96 there of Thomas O'Lou, who's a lap ahead of these drivers. But that was one for the photo album there, alongside with the BMW in the middle.
Yeah, it certainly was there, and this battle doesn't look like it's over quite yet. King still trying to attack on Daleman now that O'Leary has been able to get on by. Going to work their way by Garton there, that leader in the GTD Pro class.
Yeah, easy enough there for those drivers to deal with that at this part of the race. Everyone just so spread out with drivers within their own class, a lap ahead or a lap up behind, of course, as well. But wow, we've got 3 wide as well. What's going on here? They've absolutely gone bonkers in these closing stages. That's Kochi ahead of Hicks, but he couldn't get it stopped. And now Warner is right with these drivers. Kochi can afford an instant here and still win the title, as he has had an instant and he's into the wall. Just the rear of the car, not where the engine is, crucially. Is Knight close enough to take advantage of this one? He's closing in. The gap's down to just 3 seconds. It might even be less than 3 seconds by the time they get into the hairpin. That's not what Kochi needed. He's still in championship winning position. He's still in the race lead, but he kind of had a feeling that that was going to happen. They were just racing against each other for so long.
Yeah, indeed. We jump on board here to see this, and I think Kochi just got a little bit too aggressive trying to go around. Yeah, tried to push up around the outside, caught the grass, impact into the back of the car there. Just trying to get everything loaded back up. It looks like it's pointing the right way, so no suspension damage to the rear there, luckily for Wojciech Kochi.
Dupan would need to beat Kochi by about 6 places within the GTTs. I don't think there's even kind of 6 cars for him to, for Kochi, put 6 places for Kochi to lose. Even if he retired now, he'd still score points for how far he's got into the race. So should be fine there, should Kochi. But, well, if he's got damage, then maybe Knight can catch up by the end of the race. What's their sector times? No difference. They're matching each other through the middle part of the lap. So Kochi looking quick still. He should have enough just to hold on. These 3 remain then. Hicks, Cooper and Kaiser. Cooper taking a very tight line there. Almost skimming the wall on the inside. We are into the final minute, but Kraft will force an extra lap. He's just rounding Sunset Bend at the moment. You'll see him in the background, and he will move on to his final lap of the season.
Yes, he will. And so these drivers here, Hicks, Cooper, and Kaiser, just continuing to duke it out. No moves going down into turn 2, waiting to see if they can get the good run out of the Gurney Bend here and down into the hairpin. Again, that is Cooper looking a little bit all over the place, just searching for room, searching for a place to make it.
And of course, we wait to see if Varley is going to let past Hereford. Varley is still close to Fletcher. Let's look at this move. Just got it stopped. Hicks staying ahead. But I think we've got to put the cameras now on Varley and Hereford, because this will decide the championship as Gartson moves on to his final lap of the race. Is Varley going to slow down? He is teammates with Hereford. And by our calculations, which, you know, we're not going to definitively call the champion when they cross the line, because obviously we may have missed something. We're just doing these calculations on the fly. We'll wait for the official confirmation. But at least as far as we're aware, if it finishes like this, Rays will be the champion. But Varley has an interest in slowing down and letting Hereford by. No sign of that happening so far, though.
No, none yet. So this continuing to get a little bit electric here as we focus back in on our leader overall as he makes his way out of Le Mans for the final time.
And the celebration's already starting. And if you got a bottle of champagne, Pure Sims Esports, they are going to need to get it out very soon, because after a poor start to the season, he lost the first 2 races of the season. It looked in doubt his championship, but he's going to claim his 3rd race win of the season and the points he needs to become the champion in the P2 category. Daniel Kraft with some turnaround this season, and he finishes off with a high, and he is the champion in the Simracersworld IMSA Winter Series P2 category. Garton is going to win in the GTD Pros. Kochi's already won in the GTD AMS. That's the championship confirmed. That's the one that we can be absolutely sure about. Garton is still leading the way. So is Varley going to slow up? Where is Varley on circuit? He's got just a couple more corners to go, and it's not looking like he's slowing up. And this might be the points, or the points that Hereford needs in order to win the title. Escaping him right now, he's 11 seconds behind, and Varley is still going absolutely full throttle. Eyes on Fletcher ahead. Gartson is going to take the final win of the season in the GTD Pros. Fletcher is going to be 5 seconds behind. Varley is still pushing, and Varley finishes in 3rd position. Hereford will be in 4th place, and with Rays in 8th place, we're going to do some calculations and figure out who has won the title. But I believe Rays is going to win the title by 9 points. But yeah, we will wait for confirmation on that one. It is close either way.
Yes, it is. And oh my goodness, a run down to the line. It was great action, but you've got to feel here for Hereford if there was a potential for him to take that championship away from Rays, as we watch him now cross up the line, or getting ready to in 8th place to take what we think may be his championship.
There you go. Only just ahead of Herbert as well, wasn't it? I think if he'd lost to Herbert, that would have definitely been the championship over. But Rays with by far his worst race of the season. I mean, in terms of pace, it was really, really disappointing for him. I mean, drop scores may take effect as well, to be fair. And I mean, that's just another thing that we haven't considered as well. So it could have gone to either of them, and apologies for not being definitive, but we are 90% sure that Dan Crafts is the champion in the P2s, and we are, frankly, 99.9% sure that Kochi is the winner in the GTD AMS. Wood for Kochi, because he's had a couple of rough rounds. I mean, Daytona in particular comes to mind, where he had a very poor result, but he's just been always at the top, hasn't he? I mean, Dupin's been consistently at the top as well, it has to be said, but Kochi has really, from round 1, always looked like the favourite.
Yeah, he certainly has. Dupin has had some real flashes of brilliance, some really good races in there, but it just seems like when Kochi is on his game, there is nobody that could touch him, as Dan Kraft there doing some celebratory donuts. The traction control turned off in that number 93 LMP2.
Yeah, he was delighted. Oh, I mean, honestly, I was thinking a bit of a Nigel Mansell Montreal thing there, where he was slaloming to the line. I mean, yeah, it was feeling very confident, clearly, but what a turnaround for Dan Kraft, because I remember really after Watkins Glen, we very much thought he still had a chance at the championship win, but he could afford really no setbacks, and he didn't win Mid-Ohio. Obviously, I think certainly Olu would say Mid-Ohio was his best round of the championship, where he beat Kraft absolutely on pace. I don't think you can deny that one, but he had so much to do, did Kraft. But he managed to win 3 of the final 4 races of the season, get pole in all of them as well. That was crucial to get those points in the qualifying. And so we believe Dan Kraft, the champion in the P2 standings, 19 seconds clear of O'Leary, who just did not have the pace to keep up tonight. Freitas was able to hold on against Catchpole. Clayson's was in 5th position, then one lap down was King, Mochek, Daleman, Loins, and Tusting was 2 laps down, Roy was 2 laps down, and Fuller did take part. He was only 17 laps down, but I think he didn't even take the start initially, but must have entered later on, did Fuller. He was down in 12th place in the end. In the GTD Pros, Gartson with another race win. That's 2 race wins to finish off the season for him. Of course, did not take part in the early stages of the season, hence why he wasn't in the championship fight. But if he comes back next season, I think he will be the favourite for it. Billy Fletcher, what could have been for him? He had the pace, equal pace to his teammate. Once again, it's runner-up spot though. Brave and Vale push him right to the line. Just 5.2 seconds separating those top 3. Hereford, has he won the championship? We will try to confirm that one as soon as possible for you. Grebstad was in 4th place. Then it was Warner, Perry. Reyes was in 8th place. Then it was Herbert, Stockmans, Hicks, Cooper, Heiser, and DeWolf. Everyone finishing in that one. That's incredible stuff. Then in the GTD AMS, Kochi just 2 seconds ahead of Knights. That spin didn't deny him. Dupin lost 30 seconds with a spin in the early stages. He could have definitely have won this race. It wouldn't have been the championship anyway, but it would have been a nice way for the Tuk Tuk Patrol driver to finish off the season. But that mistake really cost him bad. Hodgson was in 4th place after an unscheduled pit stop early on, and then Valet was 4 laps down. The others retired early on. So I'm sure we'll have loads of interviews with drivers here, but well, DJ, did you want to take the first interview? We've got a few selections available.
Sure, I most certainly will. And let's start off with our winner in the GTD Pro category, Callum Reed Garden. Callum, a pretty commanding drive out there, but especially early in the middle of the race, you had a lot of pressure from behind.
Yeah, it was a good race. A lot of people with fuel saving, so everybody was on like the same sort of strategy. I think I saved a lot more fuel than everybody else did, but yeah, it was quite busy from the back. I got overtaken a couple of times from Bill and then Preben as well, but I managed to save more fuel than them and jump them in the pit stops, which was nice. So.
Well, the other thing that we saw happen a lot here in specifically in the GTD category at the end was a lot of drivers having loose rear ends at the end of the race. Were you struggling with tire wear at all come race end?
Come pit stop time, the tires were relatively in good nick. Like, they was actually quite good still. Towards the end, as the car got lighter, it got a little bit sketchier, but nothing too overkill. But some of the other guys must have struggled more than what I did. So.
Well, good to see, and you know, obviously, I have to ask, with taking a win like this, where at the end you were able to pull out the advantage. Do you like running like that, where you can run away, or did you like the earlier parts where you had to be in the battle a little bit?
No, it was nice to be in the battle. Like, I was trying to manage the pace. I was trying to back them up a little bit so I could fuel save as much, because obviously running at the front, like, you're at a disadvantage of everybody else behind you because they can save fuel. So I was trying to manage the race as best as I could, and yeah, it paid off in the end. It really paid off. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. Thank you to all you guys as well for commentating on it as well.
Well, it is our pleasure, and I guess in addition to that, thanks, are there any other thanks that you want to give out here for this win today?
Yeah, my team, Altitude Esports, and all our sponsors, Ace Tech Sim Sports and the rest. But yeah, great to see you guys. Thank you. Take care. Have a nice evening.
Well, thank you. That was our winner in GTD Pro, Callum Reed Garden.
Yes, and we'll get some other interviews now. So we haven't got any of the. I mean, we won't go down the GTD Pros just yet until the results are finished on that one. But in terms of other drivers, we could have a chat with Thomas O'Leary, I think, who finished runner-up today, and we believe that is runner-up in the championship as well. Thomas, you gave it your all out there. You know, apart from a small mistake in the early stages, you really did nothing wrong out there tonight. But in the end, Dan just a little bit quick this season.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think he's definitely had the pace advantage across all the races, and I think with a bit of luck, we've been in the right place to gain more points. But ultimately, it came down to a test of pace today, and we weren't the quickest.
Though, I mean, of course, I mean, as you say, maybe Dan did have a slight pace advantage, but there was still seemingly a bit of a ebb and flow as the season went on. I mean, Daytona, for example, he seemed a long way clear of you, and then at Mid-Ohio, I mean, at least from my perspective, you seemed to beat him fair and square on pace for that round. So, I mean, can you explain the difference in pace as the season went on between you guys?
I think Daytona was a bit of a weird one for me. I didn't get any time to practice, so I almost went into qualifying with that being my first set of laps. So I think that was a bit of a one-off. Although Dan did really well in that race anyway. And with Mid-Ohio not being a track that's often on the schedule, I don't think many people drive it as much. And I think that maybe leveled the playing field there between us. But you're definitely right. The pace at ebb and flow through the season, but I think ultimately Dan had the edge which he obviously needed and took that to the win.
What was going sort of through your mind as that race was going on? Were you able to treat it sort of as a normal race, or were you constantly looking at the relative screen, just keeping an eye out on any kind of holds up for him? Because when he was sort of 10 seconds ahead, you were kind of resting on him having a bit of a problem up ahead.
Yeah, exactly that. I kept an eye on the relative, but I wasn't too focused on it. I think once I made the initial mistake at the start, which I think ultimately probably changed the outcome of, or at least the opportunity for me to do anything with the race. It was just you got to pray for a miracle to happen, and it didn't happen. So that was all it was, and I just did my best to try and keep the pace there and keep that gap as it was. That if Dan did make a mistake, I could try and make a move, but it never happened, and that's fair enough.
With looking back at the season, of course, you still had some brilliant results, those 3 race wins. What was the highlight of the season for yourself?
I think Watkins Glen was definitely my highlight. I mean, that was quite an intense race from being at the front, not being at the front, Dan having a mistake, and me sort of driving through the field and doing going with a different tyre strategy. Really made that win quite sweet. It was quite hard to keep ahead, and I don't even know how I kept the tyres in one piece, but we managed it, and that was an awesome race in itself. But I think Mid-Ohio was just as good, and I think Road Atlanta would have been pretty good fun had Dan not been unlucky with the traffic early on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think certainly Watkins Glen, for me at least, definitely the race of the season. That was absolutely crazy between you two. Of course, brilliant result this season in second place. Are you going to continue pursuing the P2 car, or are you going to be looking at a different vehicle for future seasons?
I'm not sure, Sam, on that one. It's a difficult question. I found it quite hard to gel with the P2, especially today. It just didn't feel very comfortable and consistent. Whereas I'd driven the Porsche Cup here a few weeks back when it was official, and that was a heap of fun. So I don't know, but I guess you might see me on other championships soon, hopefully. But I'm not sure what the plan is for the future.
Well, we certainly hope to see you back in whatever capacity. Is there any shout outs you'd like to give to anyone?
I think there's a few I'd like to give. First of all, to you guys for the stream each race. It's great to have some support with the series and have the races streamed. So thank you, Sam, DJ, and Sabuli. Like to thank Bart as well for sort of getting the championship together and organising it and keeping it straight. And whenever there was altercations on track, they've been dealt with fairly well across the whole series. And just like a final thank you to Alistair at Friction Racing. We tried hard to have the best car all season, and sometimes we got it right and sometimes we didn't, but I think that reflects in the team's championship.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Thomas, and best of luck in whatever championship you pursue in the future.
Yep, no worries, and thank you guys.
Thomas O'Leary there, second place in the championship and race night. Remember, that's 6 top 2s for Thomas this season, 3 wins and 3 second places. Really impressive stuff. DJ, who would you like to check up next?
Well, I would like to bring up our champion and winner for today, our LMP2 champion, Daniel Kraft. It looked like you had this race all to yourself today.
Yeah, it was a good race. got a gap early because Tom made that little mistake. Then I made a little mistake, but I was pitting a couple of qualifying laps after that to get the gap again, and then I just managed the race from there on. It was a little bit tense, but at the same time, I felt comfortable because I knew I had the pace.
Well, talk to me about sort of your prep coming into the race with knowing this was a winner-take-all situation. Did that change anything in the way you were approaching it, or were you just trying to take this as a standard race where you still just have the impetus to win?
I do focus on the P2. So I was doing a lot of IMSA, and that just happened to be at Sebring last week, which was the perfect prep. And yeah, it's sort of naturally prepping for the special event in a few weeks' time anyway. So yeah, put in a bit of practice. I didn't overkill it, because sometimes if you put so much practice in, it means too much, and then the pressure could get to you. But yeah, I did practice.
Well, all right then. I mean, can we expect you to see you back in an LMP2? Is this kind of your baby that you're going to be able to go around with, or in future seasons, or are you going to maybe change things up a little bit?
I have concentrated on prototypes for a couple of years now. I compete in the SEO Championship, as well as the iVRA Championship. So yeah, do focus on the P2. It is my life, you could say. So yeah, really enjoyed driving it. Every race is different with the multi-class racing. Sort of, you never know what kind of scenario you might end up in with a GT car. You can take it cautious, you can take it easy, fuel saving, and you can be ultra aggressive. So there's each race is different, and it's always fun to drive.
Well, I know I, for one, love seeing you drive it. And Daniel, anybody that you want to give a shout out to today, not only for another race win, but for a championship here this season?
Yeah, I'd just like to also congratulate Thomas. It was a really great battle with him throughout the season. Going back and forth, he definitely kept me honest. I'd also like to thank the organisers, and Bart and Simracersworld for organising the championship. It was great to take part in, and I'd also like to thank you guys for broadcasting it. It's much appreciated, and it's always good to watch back. And finally, I'd just like to thank my team and our sponsors, PureSims Esports, the PureSims shop, Cube Controls, Craig Setup Shop, and Freem, to name a few. Yeah, they're always there to support and help out when needed.
Well, thank you, and congratulations once again. That was your LMP2 victor and series-long champion, Daniel Kraft. Sam?
Yes. Next interviews. Okay, I'm gonna play a risk here. I'm gonna call it. I don't want to call it too early, but we have got news from Bart Delman, who is the series admin, along with also racing tonight as well. And he has sort of backed up what I was thinking, is that Christoph Rose, we believe, is the champion in the GTD class, and we'll drag him up now. Christoph, congratulations. I'm not sure if you've done the sums as well, but by our reckoning, you are the champion this season.
Yes! Woo! I mean, I've had confirmation from a couple of people now, so I guess I should be safe. I've been waiting a long time to celebrate now, so finally, yes, we did it. I was hanging on for dear life, but I think I brought it home, so that's good.
You'll probably need to watch back the broadcast, because we were basically saying that Hereford had the advantage throughout, because we thought that Craben was going to let past Oyston on the last lap, because if he had done that, would have been 20 extra points for him. So I mean, for us to watch that last lap, we were like saying, is he going to slow down? Is he not going to slow down? In the end, he didn't slow down, and it was enough for you. But of course, you were having your own bats, as you were kind of hinting towards there. you were only 2 seconds ahead of Seb by the end. So that was getting really, really close for you. So it was close both ways.
Yeah, for sure I will watch it back. I had no idea what was happening at the front. Seems like Oystein was really battling for that podium position, so he had like an amazing race, so I was really afraid. And then yeah, from my side as well, I did my best to try to manage the gap to Seb. Yeah, I think just didn't have the pace today, and also at the front it was really close. So, but yeah, that's also part of racing, and got lucky this time.
Yeah, I mean, across the season, you absolutely deserved it across the races, and of course, 8th place today as well. Yeah, I mean, you were sort of by yourself for a lot of the race. Then you had a collision with, I think, was it Chris Warner? I think. I mean, what was going through your head at that point?
I thought it was Cooper. It was also a Lambo. So
Oh, it may have been Cooper, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. We were just went out of pits. I jumped him in the pit. Obviously, he had a bit more pace, but I was thinking to work together to maybe jump the other guys as well, because we tried the undercut. But unfortunately, he attacked where I didn't expect, so I turned in already. And had a lucky contact there, just to spin and nothing in the wall. But yeah, fair play to him, because a bit later he waited for me, and I think unfortunately afterwards he had a spin on his own.
Yeah, we saw that, and yeah, but still cost you a bit of time, but in the end, wasn't enough to swing the championship. Of course, you won a couple of races this season. My mind's going blank now, to be fair, but I mean, which race win stands out for yourself?
Oof, that's a difficult one. Let's see. I had the one at Watkins Glen, which was nothing too exciting. Then there was what was the race after? I can't remember. I do know.
Maybe Daytona.
Daytona. Yeah, for sure. That's the one. I think that's the most exciting one, because there you had the draft and pit stop and all strategy. It was really tense until the end. And then still you had to win at Mid Ohio, which was lucky because of the pit stop as well. So yeah.
What are the celebration plans for yourself? You got any champagne in the fridge?
Unfortunately, no. I think I'm going to celebrate by catching up on some sleep before our ski trip in a few days. So really looking forward to that.
Oh, cool. That sounds great. So, where are you heading? Like to the Alps, or?
Yeah, to the Alps in France. We're going to Les Cibelles.
Excellent stuff. Well, that's a brilliant thing to do. So, yeah, hopefully you have a lot of fun on that trip. Is there anyone you'd like to give shouts out to?
Shout out to Oystein Hertzford. Yeah, he was so kind, always sending me messages like, hey, good luck, and really a supportive rival, to be fair. Yeah, but he kept me on my toes, especially today. So yeah, I really appreciate the respect.
Definitely, yeah, it was a really good battle between you guys. It kept us guessing till the final corner. We did not know which way the championship was going to go, but congratulations, Christoph, on the title, and yeah, we hope to see you back on the channel very soon.
Yeah, thank you all for commentating. Thanks for the season, and I hope to see you soon in a refurbished manner.
Awesome, thank you very much, Christoph. That is the champion for the GTD Pros for this Simracersworld IMSA Winter Series. DJ, we've still got time for a couple more interviews. Who would you like to talk with next?
Well, let's talk to the man that finished behind Callum Reeve-Garton, our second place finisher in the GTD Pro field, Mr. Billy Fletcher. Billy, you were running very, very fierce at the end there, holding off a stout attack from Preben Valle.
Yeah, that was a really good fun race. My own fault for putting myself in that situation for spinning in the first place, but I suppose it made it a bit more interesting for us.
Well, talk to me about the spin. I mean, you know, was it just kind of a mental mistake, or what happened there to set you into that position?
Lack of concentration. I watched it back afterwards what I did, and I just jumped off the brakes too quick, and that Lambo rotates really harsh off power, and it just caught me out. It was just a little mistake that I made.
Well, coming back from it and fighting back from a mistake like that, what do you kind of do in the car? We were speculating and talking about how hard it is when you come through a corner. Is the only thing you can think of is the mistake you've made, or are you able to just put that out of your mind?
It's just like you fall off the bike, get back on it and go. There's no point worrying about it. I say I attacked it same I did the previous lap before I spun the next lap. The car stuck. It's just a case of just jumping straight back on it again, getting on with it, and yeah, it was good to come back to still get the second place and give the team the 1-2 for the round.
Well, in terms of that team standings with the 1-2, was there any team communication going on with you guys? We were kind of speculating that between you and Callum there was maybe some fuel saving, swapping going back and forth.
We actually wasn't. Last 2 rounds we've been in talks with each other for the whole race, but this time we actually wasn't. But me and Cal worked really well together, so we kind of just kept out of each other's way. If we made the passes, let the passes go, don't fight them. He had sort of I sat behind him for a fair chunk early on, so I passed him when I did as a bit of a payback for him, so he could then follow me, save some fuel himself. It turned out he managed to save a lot more fuel than me, than what I did when I was following him, but it is what it is, and that's what the teamwork's about.
It is indeed. Well, a second place here and a great way to end the season. Anybody you want to thank?
Big thanks to the Altitude boys, the sponsors 3M, Aztec Simsports Sim Stickers for their logos on the cars and all their help. And yeah, big thanks to you guys and SRW obviously being their last Simracersworld under the name. It's been great to finish it out that way.
Well, it's been great to see you compete across this season. We hope to see you back on the channel here soon.
Thank you very much.
All right, that was Billy Fletcher, second today in GTD Pro. Sam?
So we've still got a couple more interviews. We do definitely want to have a chat with Bart Delman, but we've still got. We'll probably leave him last. Not because we don't like him, but just because he is series organizer. So we'll leave that till last. Next up, Preben Varley is going to have a chat with us. Preben, well, you were at the epicenter of a Titanic championship battle. Just got to ask you, because we this is what was going on basically in our minds in the broadcast. We were thinking, okay, so if Oyston beats yourself, then he is the champion, but if he doesn't beat yourself, then he's not the champion. Is there sorts of some kind of allegiance between you guys? Because as far as we're aware, you're part of the same team. We were sort of expecting you to let him pass in the closing stages, but that didn't happen. But, you know, we're not sure about the relationship between you guys. But, yeah, what was kind of going on out there today?
Øystein is a proud man. He would never let him go by 7-8 seconds like it was at the end there. So he knew about the circumstances, he knew what he had to do, but he didn't want to win the championship that way, and that speaks volumes about Øystein.
Absolutely, yeah. We did not realise that whatsoever, and certainly makes a lot of sense. But for your race, you had a really good race and a Titanic battle as well with the Altitude Esports guys. You guys just seem to be switching places a lot. I mean, saving a lot of fuel as well in that first stint. It looked like sort of the battle that we've been waiting for all season between you guys.
Yeah, the first stint was, as we said, just fuel saving. We were all just sat there, and Billy and Callum were slowing us down, but we knew they were saving fuel too, and it's perfectly reasonable that even the guy leading is saving fuel in that situation. Because if you're not, you're gonna get jumped by 10-15 seconds in the pit. So we were just sat there waiting, praying that the LMP2s would leave us alone, basically. And they did for the most part. I had a small incident with one of them, but I didn't get too much damage, so I could still stay in their draft. Then they jumped us in the pits. I have no idea how they managed to save that much fuel. Both me and Øystein fueled 7-8 liters more than what they did, and I had less than 2 liters left at the end. So well done to Callum and Billy for saving that much fuel and getting out ahead of us.
Yeah, we were really surprised when we saw the amount of fuel they saved, because I think they were 58 seconds pit lane transit, and the average was about 1:04. So I mean, they saved like 6 seconds worth of fuel, which is absolutely insane. And yeah, of course, compared to you, I think they saved sort of 3 or 4 seconds. So yeah, no idea how they managed to do that, but it was super impressive. Really strong season, of course, for yourself, particularly as the season kind of came to the end. Are you going to continue pursuing these GT3 cars, or are there any other the vehicles in iRacing that you're tempted to race in?
I only did the last 2 races in this series. I entered that for America last time. That was my first outing in GT3s in a league race ever. I've not done them much. I did Daytona 24 and thought this is fun, so I jumped on the last 2 rounds and I picked up pace quite quickly. So I think I want to stay with them if it's possible.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's certainly a category which brings some of the best racing on the platform. So yeah, certainly a wise choice there. Is there anyone you'd like to give any thanks to, Praven?
My teammates at Ignim, of course, Paul King, and all the guys. Eystein, who's I have no words tonight for what he did. He, as I said, it speaks volumes to the man he is. And to Terje Flåten, who's watching, who's cheering us on. And of course to my girlfriend, as always.
Yes. Thanks, Praven, for having a chat with us, and yeah, hope to see you back on the channel soon.
Thank you.
Praven Barley there, 3rd position in tonight's event. And DJ, that leaves us with one more interview, and it's quite a special interview with Bart Dillman. He's going to be chatting to us about Simracersworld and such. I'll pass him over to yourself.
Indeed, Bart. I guess first thing is first. This is a great way to end the season. All of us doing math behind the scenes to figure out who wins. That has got to feel good as the organizer here to be able to have this kind of finish.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for. And with the real life IMSA point system, I thought it would not be this close at the end. But to have 2 championships on the wire in the last week, that's amazing to see.
Well, I know it made things a little difficult for us as commentators. Doing math on air is always difficult and a challenge, but it certainly made for some fantastic stuff. But talk to me about what we can expect going forward.
Yeah, it's been 6 years of Simracersworld. Ian sadly decided to quit because it became a little bit too much for himself and his personal life, and Simracersworld got a little bit too big for him. Sadly enough, we cannot continue because of legal issues. So we have just we decided that we're going to rebrand the whole community, and yeah, we're going to do what we're doing now. We have a great community. They are very supportive. And tomorrow will be the announcement what the future brings for Simracersworld.
Well, I know we are very, very excited to see what that future will hold, and we were happy and a little bit surprised to see you out on track. Are we going to be able to see you out on track in seasons to come?
Yeah, because it was the last race of Simracersworld, it was very nostalgic, and I wanted to race. That's why I asked Paul Godden from SimStickers to do the race control, and so that I can do, because Ian gave me the chance to organize. He trusted me with the F3 series. That was my first series I organized, and after that I just I loved organizing so much, and I love doing it for the community that we have, because like I said, we got a lot of love. Sometimes it's tough love. We got some discussions, but it's all in good fun. So yeah, that's great.
Well, I love hearing that, and I love the sense of community you guys have. But over the course of the season and over the course of today and just everything you guys have done, are there any special thanks that you want to give out?
Yeah, I want to thank Ian for the beautiful years that he has brought to us in difficult times with the COVID. It brought a lot of people joy, and a little bit to set their minds off their personal issues, and he did a great job with the community. And if you see what his achievements were, it should not be underestimated. You guys also know that this business is tough work, and he did it for 6 years with his heart and soul, and great thanks to him. And great thanks to all the admins. It's too much to call them all out. They know who they are. and a lot of them followed me in this new chapter that we are going to have. And I want to thank them for the trust they have in me, pushing this community further, and hopefully we can improve what we already have and build upon it, on the legacy Ian started. I want to thank you guys for the broadcast. It was a return for Simracersworld to come to Apex Racing again. And I think a lot of the drivers had very good feedback on the broadcast. It's good quality. I know Sam from World GT in the earlier days, and yeah, he improved as well as a commentator. You can hear that. So that was also thanks to them, and yeah, thank you for Lee Thompson for dealing with my last minute changes because I think that's also not easy. But I had a lot to do, and sometimes it was a little bit too busy for me with this rebrand. And thanks for the whole community. Thanks to the drivers for participating and supporting us. So I hope that I will see them very soon in our new series in 2 weeks and 3 weeks time.
Well, Bart, we look forward to seeing you there as well, and we look forward to seeing what else you guys have in store for us. It's always fantastic racing out on track.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you. Good evening.
Bart Delman, their driver, of course, tonight. Awesome that he was able to take part in tonight's event. And then, yeah, of course, also the series organizer, making so many of the Simracersworld leagues possible. And it's very exciting what happens to, of course, not Simracersworld, but a new rebranding. And we'll see what announcements come out of that in the future, in the next couple of days. DJ, a terrific season, really fun season. It's tricky to kind of get into a championship when it's quite this short, you know, it's only 6 rounds, and yet it feels like we know the drivers like the back of our hands. It's like as though we've been watching these drivers for 5 years or so. So many classic races, the championships were so close all the way down to the finale. Yeah, just a really well put together league and fantastic participation from the drivers as well. It's fantastic to have, you know, 10 plus drivers in each of the categories week in, week out.
Yeah, it really and truly is, and always great seeing this multi-class battle. Good respect among the drivers. It is a fantastic community, as you heard Bart talk about, and I am so very excited to see what they do going forward.
For sure. Do check out their social media pages on Instagram and Facebook. I believe they're on that. Maybe check them out on Twitter as well. That's Simracersworld. Go search Simracersworld now because they might change their name, and then it will be maybe more tricky to find them. So go follow them as well on their social medias right now. And yeah, definitely do that straight away because I'm sure they'll be putting on many very high quality leagues in the future. So they're certainly worth checking out in the future. That is pretty much all we've got for this series. Once again, well, check out our social media as well. Whilst you're searching Simracersworld, go follow them, and then also follow Apex Racing TV. We are definitely on Twitter, along with Facebook and Instagram as well. And of course, if you've enjoyed this video, do leave a like on it. Hopefully we might be bringing you similar series to this in the future. Certainly these cars will be showing you a lot more. We've actually got a new GT3 League on Saturday, the Finding Speed Championship. I believe that's GT3s at least on Saturday, and that'll be the first round of that. So whilst this one is coming to an end, at least we've got other GT racing coming up on other nights. And of course there's loads of other stuff as well. Porsche Cups, Formula 3s will be back. We've got NASCAR, we've got maybe even Rallycross we occasionally broadcast as well, prototypes and all of that stuff. So do make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. You can check out all of our streams in the near future. Well, thank you to the drivers for taking part in this series. It's been a fantastic championship to view. It's been so entertaining with the high level of competitiveness. Huge thanks to the viewers as well, for you guys for tuning in for this stream. Otherwise we of course wouldn't put it up there, particularly the drivers. Thanks to you guys for watching back the stream, especially if you got to this point in the broadcast. Very much appreciate it. And of course, most of all, thanks to the organisers for putting on a fantastic championship, Art Delman in particular, but everyone else at Simracersworld who have made these leagues possible over the past few years of iRacing. Huge thanks to them for just making iRacing so much fun for so many drivers. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from DJ Clark, and from Sam Kuma, we're going to sign off for the final time this season. Hopefully you enjoyed it all, and we'll see you back very soon.